All right, New York Liberty fans, we have one preseason game in the books and one on deck tonight. This is your official pre-game show as the New York Liberty take on a national team in Oregon. And we're going to talk all about it. Let's get it.
Gotta get up.
Gotta get up.
Gotta get up.
Hey, women's basketball fans, welcome to Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans brought to you by Black Rosie Media and hosted by Erica L. Ayala. All right, we had some technical difficulties there, but we're going to keep this party going. Erica L. Ayala here, your co-host of Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans. I'm alongside, of course, the other host, Brian Fleurantin, the man from Brooklyn himself, and we're super excited. We got some news things that we're going to get to. We're obviously going to talk a little bit about what happened against Connecticut, or at least right now they are the Connecticut Sun. Will they be in a few years? Who's to say? We'll get into all of that. But I think the big news that I wanted to lead off with, Brian, and you shared this in the Slack community, but Nyara Sabally officially extended, option picked up.
Yes, the Liberty exercised Nyara's fourth-year rookie option, so she will be back in 2026. And there are two great things about it. I would say the first is that it's a testament to Nyara's growth. Like, I was thinking about it when I saw the news. When she was drafted in 2022, I remember my first thought was, oh, she just came off an ACL injury. She's not going to be ready to play. Is this the right pick? And I remember at the time, I was like, would a player like just for example, like an Emily Engstler, who'd be ready to play right now, would she be ready to play?
Right.
And then the Liberty were like, no, we'll take our time. We'll let her heal up. No worries. Like, she'll be fine. And then in 2023, she got thrown out there a lot earlier than anticipated because of injuries to Stephanie Dolson at the end of June, and then Han was hurt and then left to go overseas for competition. So Nyara really got thrown into the fire, and you saw the struggles at first, but the team was like, she'll be okay, give her time, let her keep working. And then I really sensed something was different that first game against Indiana last year after they won in DC on opening night. And the second game, she was so excellent. Like, she was running the floor really hard. She had a really tremendous block on Kelsey Mitchell at the basket. And I was like, oh, look at this. This is okay. And then just saw building and building. Yep. You were in Paris for the Olympics, and you reported back that she looked excellent there. She might have been Germany's best player in Paris at the time, and it was like, oh boy, here it is. And then Sabally.
Yes, Sabally. I mean, and that's the Cliff Notes version because so much has happened, right? But it's just so great to see her. And, you know, I think back also to our group chat was not the only one wanting to see Satu and Nyara reunited in New York. And I think there is still a world where that can happen, and it can happen in New York. I do believe that could happen. However, I think that for Satu and for Nyara, from both of their perspectives, the fact that Satu is going to have an opportunity to, you know, redefine her WNBA career in the first ever place outside of Dallas and it not be New York, I love that for Satu. For Nyara, and I love that for Satu. I love that for both of them, honestly. But specifically, we're obviously going to talk about Nyara Sabally, and I think that we started to see, as you said, just last year was such a good year for Nyara, and she's, you know, been relatively healthy after the unfortunate, she was in concussion protocol basically in Paris. So I'm glad that nothing significant has happened since then, and that's how we want to keep it. But JC says, just in time for my workout. Hey, we're glad to motivate you to go the distance here. What up? Ghost is here again, once again. Damien agrees with me. Oh man, gotta frame this. Damien agrees with me. Damien, good to see you. You know I love joking with you. But yes, Satu Sabally will come home to New York someday, and that is a fact. And yes, come home. I love that saying because Satu was born in New York. I love it. Okay, so we wanted to lead off with that. And don't worry, because we are not done talking about Nyara Sabally. Absolutely not. We know the Oregon Ducks are coming back home. They're already there, obviously, because this is our pregame show. Yo, Daniel, what's good? Thanks for joining us again. We love it. Hello, Albert from Queens. What's good? What's good? So great to have y'all on. This is our pregame show. So I mentioned a national team. So I do want to, a little bit later on the show, Brian, talk about, is there a difference, or what are the differences when you play a national team in preseason versus another WNBA team? And I think both have their challenges that Sandy Brondello and the coaching staff will have to work with, and certainly both have their opportunities. So we're going to get into that. But first, let's talk a little bit about what happened preseason. And then I also have a little mashup of Natasha Cloud, because she's amazing and fantastic. And she said some things that made me go back in the Wayback Machine. And I'm excited to share some of that with you, which is why I know she is the right person for this New York Liberty squad. But Brian, the New York Liberty, we saw them lose in a overwhelming manner the first game last preseason. It was a little bit more respectable, but once again, the New York Liberty dropped their first preseason game. If I remember correctly, you might have been, at that Cowboy Carta. Was it Beyonce, or where were you? You were at another show.
It was Kendrick and SZA.
Oh, Kendrick. Okay, I should have looked up the schedule, because I know Beyonce is also touring. But I remember
I will be at Cowboy Carter this month. You best believe I will be there.
I was okay.
Look,
okay.
Concerts all into this area, you will see me.
I love it. Okay, I got your concerts a little mixed up. Brian's always out in these streets, so you never know. But so if I remember correctly, you weren't able to watch the game in real time, but I'm sure that you have been able to see and hear what the players were talking about. Let's just start broadly, and we'll get into the specifics here of the game itself. Actually, before we do that, so 94-86, we have the post game with Sandy, Maureen, and Beck up there. But what were broad strokes, just some of your takeaways from the game?
I would say the offense looks smooth. Like they're missing two starters in Stewie and Leo, but you really saw that, because they've been talking a lot about playing 5 out, and John Cole was mentioning that it's going to be a little bit different for her, because she's so used to being a little bit closer to the basket, and she was wondering how it's going to affect her ability to rebound. But as far as like space and room to operate, it looks great. Like, a player who really stood out to me was Kennedy Burke. Like, we really got to see the full sort of like repertoire of what KB can do. She was bringing the ball up after inbounds. She was doing handoffs. She had a nice corner three. She got a good layup on a pick and roll with Sabrina, then another drive to the basket with her strong hand. Like, KB, like we've talked about it when we did the KB episode a few months back. We talked about this.
You gotta get to Q too. That's Q. We'll come up later. Yeah. Sorry, I got too excited. I started pressing buttons. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. When we did our KB episode a few months back, we mentioned that this was really going to be a year where we got to see more of what she can bring to the table. And Kennedy has been talking about that in camp, where she's coming in fully healthy. The knee injury that she came in with last year. Oh, we'll circle back on that. But yeah, Kennedy was really excellent. And I feel that for KB, she fills so many different roles for this team. And seeing her get those drives to the basket, seeing the room she has to work with is really exciting for the Liberty. And for Sandy, you can be like, okay, I trust a player who has competed on big stages. This Liberty team is very international. Like, whenever you see a photo of a Liberty player, is usually chances are they have a trophy with them, so they can handle themselves in big games. And Kennedy is one of those players. So seeing her out there work that way was really good. Another positive that I took away was Maureen Johannes. Like, we haven't seen her in Brooklyn in about a year and a half. And what do you know? Coming off that screen, fading in the corner for 3. Fantastic. Catch and shoot threes. Like, everything there is really solid. And I would say another good. Yeah, MJ was awesome. And I'm really looking forward to see what she does, because I think she mentioned this is like her first training camp.
Yes.
At the NBA, which is really quite which is like understandable because Marine is has huge responsibilities elsewhere, but also
Yep.
somewhat hilarious where it's like, oh, you've never done a training camp, but yet you come in here and you're like 39% for 3-point range. You are a superstar, Marine.
Yes,
I
truly.
acknowledge that.
And the elder stateswoman has been with the organization for the longest cumulative, not consecutive, but cumulative seasons.
Yeah, Maureen, like there was one time after exits in 2023, we were asking her about, you played in front of like 18,000 people. Think about the good old days, but you were up in Westchester County Center, and polite Marine is like, oh, it's just basketball. I play, I go. Meanwhile, Big Mama Stepha's like, no, that place, no, y'all.
I know. I remember.
She was like, hey, I don't like being mean, but
yeah,
that
it was
wasn't it. Sorry.
It was wild. It was
Yeah.
wild. That was a time. But we survived it. Damien, very different Damien from last year with your comments, and I love it. But yes, you're correct. Hold on, someone's calling me. I forgot to turn off my do not disturb. Apologies, everyone. But yes, the preseason does not count. And I even joked around yesterday. I was like, they better lose this game because they lost last year. And if you believe in patterns, what you want to call it, patterns or superstitions, whatever the case is, I'm like, ain't no need to go changing things. I mean, yes, of course, those are jokes, but also in the back of my head, they're observations. Okay. That's all I got to say about that. But listen, Amir, our loyalties are not divided here. This is Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans. And we said we was going to be here on Mondays. So that's what I'm going to do. But Marine Johannes was the leading scorer, as we see Ghost saying here. Another one, got another photo here for y'all. But I mean, I really liked what we saw from Q and what we saw from Jay Sherrod. I mean, just this picture to me is like everything. What up, Aloysius? But yeah, so I think that we saw, as you said, the offense. You used the word smooth, and I think that I see potential for smoothness. I think we were still whisking out some of the lumps, and I'll talk about some of those things in a little bit here. But behind Marine Johannes, who had 12 points, as it's mentioned in the chat, 11 points for Jalen Sherrod. We also saw who else? Oh, Rebecca Gardner had 11 points. I thought we got some pretty good minutes from Beck Gardner as well. And, one of the things that I put down for us to potentially talk about for today's episode is, was this an indication perhaps that Sandy Brondello might go more than 6 or 7 deep on us? And there's Rebecca Gardner there. I thought it was interesting, and that's why I also want to talk about them taking on, the Antelopes tonight, the Japanese national team, because how much of this is you had 2 starters out, which you already mentioned, Brian. Leone Fibish not with the team yet, and Stewie was on rest. How much of it is that you just kind of have to rock with? There's 2 extra roster spots, so there's minutes there, or did you get a sense that maybe this is Sandy Brondello, the coaching staff, the front office, really trying to give some run to folks who, at the end of the day, are going to be the players they discuss when it comes to making these final cuts? What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I feel like for preseason, I think especially in the W with roster spots being so scarce, and once you sort of get past the bucket of protected contracts, you have a lot more. The margin becomes so much thinner, and it's almost like none. So you really have to make sure that you give those players as full of an opportunity as humanly possible, because if you don't, you essentially sort of like burn through your preseason for not so much nothing, but it's like you didn't get the most out of it. So you don't want to have a situation where you're playing like your stars like 29, 30 minutes of preseason, because why? Like, it doesn't count for anything. And you know what they got anyway. So you really need to take that time to get those bench units in and really get those players that extended opportunity. Because one thing about basketball is that, once the stars are out and it's like deep in the mud, it's like people are fighting for jobs. So no one's gonna be like sort of like lopping off and just sort of like going through the motions. It's like, hey, I am playing for a spot, and if I don't get
Right.
it here, I might get it somewhere else. Like
Right.
just to sort of like branch off for a quick detour.
Yeah.
A player today who got waived was Deja Kelly, and she
Yep.
was excellent for the Aces in preseason.
Yep.
And
I
I
mean,
remember coming back.
Sellers, you know,
Yeah, trying to tell us another player. And for Deja in particular, I remember the conversation was, will she get drafted? What can she bring to the league? And then she got on with the Aces. She looked really good. And now is a situation where if a team is looking, if you're a team like let's say, for example, a Connecticut, hey, we don't really, we're just all about experimentation and exploration this year. Like we're just gonna like treat this year as like adding to a database.
yeah.
Deja, come on down. Like, come play. We see what you can do. So these minutes are super valuable, and
Yes.
they're gonna mean something. So
I agree.
mhm.
I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. And for players like a Jalen, like a Ismari, like having these minutes matters a lot. And I think that having that gives the coaching staff more time. And just as an example from last year with Jalen, she was the very last cut. And it was like everyone was so sad when it happened, but they was like, just stick around, like, don't worry, like keep our number on speed dial. And
Exactly.
then when like June, July came, it's oh hey, Jalen's back. Jalen's hanging out in Atlanta. She's with us for a little bit, and then it's one 7-day contract, then another 7-day contract, then end of season contract, then championship, and now you have a real shot to make this team outright. So those moments and those opportunities of getting those reps, doing that work, like everyone sees everything. So it's like we see the work you're doing, and it's not going to go unacknowledged. You just got to keep at it. You keep at it. You keep working. Someone will see, someone will recognize, and then that opportunity is going to come. So for players like a Jalen, Esmari, Q Davis, a lot of players really have a good shot to just like keep at it, and then you strike gold. Oh, Leanna as well too. Like
Yeah.
yeah, Jackie Powell has a really tremendous story about Leona,
Yes.
and then we linked to it in like I forget which newsletter. It was one of last week. Like,
Yeah.
we linked to it. Like her story is really fantastic. So there are a lot of like really great stories at the bottom of the roster, and so much great energy that comes in, no matter who gets selected when the day is done.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we will talk about what we think is going to happen there. Just some things given last game that I want to talk about in respect to the game that we're going to see tonight, Brian, is that, I mean, again, I didn't agree that it was a completely smooth offense, and that was because, listen, it was turnovers. Turnovers were a huge problem. Um, you know, we saw that this Connecticut team was able to dominate when it came to second chance points. They dominated a New York Liberty squad that I think is even faster than last year. They dominated on fast break points, getting out. This just was not a clean representation for me. The turnovers, 29 points on 18 turnovers. That's what the New York Liberty gave up. And that's a problem. That's something that they're absolutely going to have to clean up, and they'll have another chance to do it tonight.
Yeah, especially like no matter what the talent disparity is, turnovers are turnovers, and you give any team enough opportunities, they're going to make you pay for it. So I think for the Liberty, this is where another game to iron these details out, get a few more reps in that aren't against like their practice guys or each other, gives you more room to sort of see what the opposing coverages are, how teams are preparing to defend you. So it really sort of like adds more fun for the coaching staff to work in, because they've really every year they sort of built on their foundation on offense. Like they're getting more and more acclimated with who needs the ball where, how to feature certain players, how to make sure everything is done right. So I think that this second game, I think it's going to be another great opportunity for them to do it. So I'm looking, like, you're definitely right. The turnover number is one I'm going to keep an eye on for this evening, just to make sure that they're a little bit more crisp when it comes to what they're running.
Yeah. And yes, Aloysius, you're absolutely right. They're working out kinks. And we have I put together a quick hot or not list. And this is very subjective and only because it's a way of having a conversation. It's not saying that this is where the team is going to end up because, again, they got so that's just absolutely thumped in their preseason game last year, and we saw what they were able to do. But as far as players that look good, I think we talked about a lot of those players. Q, J, Izzy, KB, and MJ. For me, and this is a high bar, but I think Tosh, you could tell, was still very much getting acclimated. I think Sabrina, we know from what she said to us about a week and a half ago now, that working in the pick and roll as, the person setting the pick and also working as the person, rolling off is something that she wants to work on. The timing at times I think was a little tough there. I will say, you talked about Jonquel Jones earlier and how this is a 5-out, right? Or that's the plan, that's the theory.
Yeah.
When JJ was being guarded at the arc by Tina Charles and then put that thing and beat her off the dribble, I was like, let me find out, JJ. Let me find out, JJ. She said I might start out there, but that don't mean I'm gonna stay out there.
Yeah.
I loved that. I thought that was fantastic. And we've seen Jonquel Jones bring the ball up. That's completely different, though, when you're bringing the ball up and the first line of defense, generally speaking, is the backcourt for the opposition, right? But taking a player like Tina Charles off the dribble, like Tina Charles is definitely not the quickest athlete in the entire WNBA. And Tina Charles can move them feet. She could play defense. She could play her position, And so I really loved seeing that from Jonquel Jones. And so I do think that it's me nitpicking a little bit, and the expectation and how this team is going to work and operate is by Tosh and Sabrina really bringing their best. So very nitpicky things. I am confident that each one of them is going to be able to figure out, and it's good that they're working through it in preseason. So just an observation, nothing that we have to write hate letters about or make it bigger than it is. But if I had to be nitpicky, in addition to the turnovers that we already talked about, I think they're related to Tosh in particular still getting acclimated in real gameplay to her new teammates.
Yeah, I think that especially for a player like Tosh, it's so different. I think she mentioned it once, where it's like it's so different having Jonquel Jones and Brianna Stewart behind you when you're so used to being that lockdown perimeter defender who's like, oh, I can't let someone get in front of me. Now It's like, oh, if I get beat, JJ's waiting for me right at the basket. She got it covered, and then she secures a board, and then you can't fry it. Yeah, Phoenix. I've never been to Phoenix. Phoenix must be hot as heck.
Phoenix is wild. Phoenix is wild. And you know what? We're going to talk about Phoenix mostly in shading them, not only because it's super hot there, but also they deserve some shade. And I'm going to explain why. Because I have this video for you from Tosh Cloud. She had her own media availability, and there were a few things in this clip early on. I'm not going to play the whole thing. We'll have the whole thing up on the YouTube channel for y'all, just like we have the availability right now with Gardner, Sandy Brondello, and Maureen Johannes up. We'll post the full thing. But Tosh said something that made me want to take it back to playoffs 2023, Brian. So let's play that beautiful bean footage.
I was in here, I cried like a baby. Do y'all remember? Oh, man, you're going to get me emotional. I've been in DC for 8 years. It is the only team that looked at me coming out of college. It is the only coaching staff that believed in me. I went through a lot of growing pains throughout my career. So to be where I am today, to be where my feet are today, I'm really proud. And I know the younger version of myself would be proud. I know my family is really proud. And the support that I've had from the Mystics organization, both on and off the court, you don't see that in this league. I can be a villain. I say what I want. I say it with my chest, and that can sometimes reflect badly, not only on myself, but the organization. But, when you ruffle feathers, it's good trouble, right? And to have a organization, we see in sports world, players that speak up can be blackballed out. they can lose their jobs, they can be moved. So to have the support of the Mystics organization through and through, it's been a blessing for 8 years, but it really means a lot to me to wear DC across my chest. And yeah, I just hope that I made our organization, our fans, and my family proud. I'm still a thug, y'all, even though I cry. These are thug tears. I was going to be a villain and I was going to be a dog tonight, and I was going to stay on Sabrina for as much as I could at the game. I'm first team all defense, and I don't get the credit. I know that we have a defensive player of the year starting at the top of our defense, but she has a first team all defense behind her too. And so I wanted to establish myself, and also as a point guard. I'm one of the best point guards in this league, period. And I don't get the respect that I deserve. So in a game like this, environment like this, I just wanted to lead by example first and foremost, and we needed a dog tonight. And I think everyone followed suit and just didn't have enough in our tank.
Because you put us on notice of that as well.
Yeah.
But then the crowd and the reception that you've received.
Yeah, I've grown a lot offensively, and shout out to my trainer, James Clark, and Safu Bernard, our position coach, because they really helped me just grow and be confident in my game and just continue to expand. Every year I want to get better. And so we have goals in the off season of where I can be better. And I really try to work my hardest to just be the best version of myself every year and every game for my team. So I'm really proud of my performance. I am a player, though, that defense brings my offense. So because I was so amped up on defense with Sabrina, I felt like it was my night. But also, I didn't help us in game one. Having I think I had 4 points in game one, maybe 7. I don't even know what it was, but I've been a scorer for this team, and I feel like I let our team down in game one. So I just wanted to come out and just be aggressive, and it helps me as a point guard. I think sometimes people can forget, yes, I'm a point guard. I love passing more than I love scoring. That's a rare thing. And I understand what my job is to get the scorers around me the ball and put them in successful situations. But sometimes I forget that if I'm aggressive, it actually opens up what I want to do even more. It makes my job easier to assist. And I feel like that's what happens tonight. But yeah, the love that I felt off the court, the waving, I'm from Philly, so that shit don't bother me. That's part of the game. That's a part of being a fan too. But that's what got me upset out there, was just feeling all the love from your fans. So I really appreciate that, Liberty fans. It was a great environment to play in. Like, this is things that we dreamed of since the time that we were kids. So to feel that love coming off the court, it just was like a reiteration to me that I really did leave everything that I could on the floor. And I knew New York is very similar to Philly. We love hard workers. We love gritty ass players. So I really did appreciate it. So thank y'all. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I cried.
Listen, sometimes thugs gotta cry too, man. Brian, I love that so much. Like, I was cutting it up, and there were certain pieces that I just wanted people to hear the whole thing, because I've been really hype about Tosh Cloud coming to New York because of moments that we saw in that video. It was so, and I showed I'm gonna get the image up here again, Brian, but I don't know if y'all heard her. Like, she came in hell-bent, determined to absolutely embarrass Sabrina Ionescu for that series, Brian.
Yeah, I think especially when it came to that game one, Sab really styled on Washington. I think she had 37 in that first game, and she was dominant in ways that really sort of threw the Mystics off. And then Coach Tebow, he mentioned, I think in the media availability of game two, he's like, when three's going in this building, it's loud regularly, but when they hit those big momentum shifting threes, it's it goes up another level. And Sabrina's hitting those deep threes, really punishing the Mystics every time they made a mistake on pick and roll coverage. It's just, oh, you're gonna drop. She pulls up. That's easy three right there. Every mistake that Washington made in that series, they capitalized on. Yep. And for game two, it was very much okay. If we lose, I'm at the very least going to play my absolute best game to ensure that all-star is not going to be able to do anything. And it was a great cat and mouse game, because for as much as she sort of took Sabrina out, the Liberty and Sabrina were like, okay, she's got it tonight. Sab, space out, it's almost like I guess it's almost like in hockey in a sense where it's like, oh, you're down, like both players are in a penalty box, so it's a 4-on-4 situation. So now it's okay, Sab and Tosh, you guys are in this box right here. Everybody else, it's 4-on-4. Make it happen. Yeah.
Yep. And that's, you see literally in this photo, there's not much more spacing that Sabrina can give. I also do think this is out of bounds play, but the point is that it could be more, if we don't take this photo literally, I think it's also exactly what you're saying, Brian. And I'm not gonna get on my 1-in-19 soapbox on today, but I promise I'll go there next time. But
also, before we go, one fun thing about this is like they're like 3 feet away from Ari Chambers, which is really I'm like, hey, that's Ari. That's nice.
Know, yo, Ari, what's good? Send us that footage because you know she got some good stuff there. I know, I did see Ari in there. I was like, I'm not cropping this. We're keeping it. I just love the energy that she brings. Now, someone's over here talking about the Liberty have 2 playmakers, Johannes and Ionescu. Listen.
Wow.
They got a lot more than 2.
Yeah, at least it's like in math, we have the greater sign with the dash underneath. So at least 2, but plenty more.
Right. Oh, plenty more. And Tosh Cloud has the potential to be that. And that's why, again, my harshest criticism in the first preseason game, which, as Damian mentioned, as we know, Brian, doesn't mean anything, doesn't count for anything. It's a preseason game. And if I'm nitpicking, I want to see more from Tosh, and it'll come because this energy right here is what she's capable of. And I think that, imagine Tosh being on a team where she doesn't feel like she has to fight for every little thing. That's been so much of her driving force. We heard it in those clips, but what we also are hearing a lot from Natasha Cloud this year, Brian, is that she comes from a place of love. And as much as if you give her raw, a raw deal that she's going to be raw back, I think if you give her love, she'll give it right back, at least equally. And that's what she was talking about when I asked her about the love that she was getting from New York. After this game, right? After that game 3, where she's eliminated, they were booing her, waving her off because that was New York being like, yeah, y'all about to lose this game. See ya, get off the court. But as soon as clock went to zeros, like we talked about it earlier, right? Sabally. When's the last time that we heard that kind of chant from a player that's not named Sabrina Ionescu, that's not named Stewie, that's not named JJ? The last person other than Nyara Sabally is Tosh Cloud. And so now she's on this team. And I'm just so curious to see how it's all going to play out because there is going to be a learning curve. We talked about it on Tempestagi Talk last year with Nneka Ogwumike, perennial all-star, been to finals, been an MVP. And she was honest that she's never left and been on another team other than the Los Angeles Sparks. And so, yeah, exactly. When she told me that story, I thought that was adorable. And I know she was mortified, but that was what she was saying. Like, she, of course, cognitively knew that she signed somewhere else. She knew that she was but there's habits. And some of those habits also come with the emotions that sometimes drive these basketball players. And so having a situation in Seattle where now Nneka and Skylar Diggins have gone through that, I'm curious to see what Seattle's going to look like. We saw that with the New York Liberty the season before, right? No more easy bake oven. Last year, they knew each other because they put in the work. And so Tosh is coming to this team and she knows that's her biggest task. And that might mean some of her numbers don't look like we expect them to. Some might be bigger, some might be smaller, maybe there's fluctuation that we're not used to. But what we do know is that Tosh Cloud is going to give it 100%, and she's going to find a way to, on her terms, which is very upfront and in your face. She's going to find a way to make it work. And so I'm with it. Damian saying at least 3 playmakers. And of course, saying that Tosh Cloud is in the mix. I'm with you, Brian. I think we got a lot more than 3. And that, I mean, listen, Jonquil Jones taking Tina Charles, Jonquil Jones taking all-stars off the dribble. Like, come on, man, come on.
It's so funny. She's not here with us. Like, she's flying back to New York as we speak in all likelihood. But Leo, sneaky good playmaker. Like, we saw it a little bit in the finals, and it's like there's another option there. Like, just so like when Leo comes back and we sort of see the full repertoire, having a forward at her size that can handle like the way that she does, like that opens up a whole nother box to work with. So it's gonna be so fun sort of like cataloging this journey and seeing all the things that Sandy, Sonia, Rahman, Olaf, and the staff cook up. Like, it's gonna be like this is like your basketball nirvana, if you will.
Oof. I mean, it really is. It really, really is. I will be honest, I've been making some predictions, and I know that we've talked about how much we believe that this New York Liberty really wants to get that home court advantage. I do think that now this is contingent. I'll tell y'all this. I don't think it's going to be in the article because I'm not the lead writer. I have the New York Liberty right now, Brian, finishing 2nd in the league. And
can I guess what number 1 is?
Yes.
New Jersey's very own and her merry band of Minnesota Lynx.
You nailed it. You know me so well. Here's why I say New York Liberty will finish the standings at 2, given what I know now, which is literally nothing. And if you listen to the show a lot, you know I really don't like making these early predictions because I don't think it's fair. I'm an eye test gal through and through. However, I've been asked to do it. I'm going to play along. But from what I know now, Brian, and this is going to lead us into our next topic of conversation.
Yes.
From what I know now, Brian, we are making an assumption that Leo, who's not with the team now, might not be with the team in the early part of the season. Mm-hmm. And for me, that compounded with getting maybe a KB a little more acclimated. I do think that she had to eat some hard minutes, as I like to say, early in that first preseason game. And I think she's got to keep working on that. Again, if I want to be super critical, I think she's got to work on getting more hard minutes. And again, Tosh is on her own path to acclimating herself into this team. So if Leo and MJ, but particularly Leo, because we already know Nyara is going to be gone per reports. If Leo is gone for Eurobasket, and MJ is gone for Eurobasket, then that is why I think the New York Liberty will struggle a little bit in the transition, not to a point where they fall any outside of the top 4. I do not think they fall outside of the top 4. And when I say top 4, I really kind of mean top 2. But I do think that if we see some of those key players, those role players from last year who are expected to be key players this year, if they're missing in June, July, I think that means a 2nd place finish, which is still good. But that's my prediction.
Yeah. No, I'm with you when you break it down like that. And now that I think about it, I'm not sure how many Lynx players are doing Eurobasket, if any. I have to sort of like, I might like if I see Ben Pickman
not there anymore, right?
Yeah. TC's Golden State. I feel like if I see Ben Pickman this week, I'm gonna be like, hey, how many players are gonna be in Eurobasket this year, Ben?
Yeah,
you know this stuff. So I might ask Ben when I see him. But that's a really good point, and I will say definitely it's gonna. This is why we've been talking about depth for so long, because like this is gonna happen. Like. We are in a full global game, and within that sense of within the world-reaching aspects of women's basketball, you need to be prepared for when players have national team obligations, because the World Cup is in Germany next year. So Leo and Nyara are going to ball out when they get there. So everyone else who's here, like just do a little bit more for a month and a half.
Yep.
We get the All-Star break to heal up a little bit. Just like go to Indiana, go have fun, go party, do all that. Then when you come back, ready to go.
Yep, absolutely. We have Cancer 7877 saying finishing 3rd overall. I'm afraid injuries are going to hurt them. See, now you always have to factor in injuries. You always have to. I mean, like this is sports. It's pro sports, high level, right? Elite level. You're not going to stay 100% healthy, but are they going to be the kind of injuries that didn't play the whole clip from Tosh 23, but she said, 23 minutes, 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 23 minutes her whole thing was, what other team in the WNBA can lose 3 of their starters for significant amount of time and still make the playoffs?
Yeah,
That's what she was saying.
I remember that.
She was 10 toes down for Washington, and she's absolutely right. And that's why that's my caveat. I do still think that this New York Liberty team, again, has the depth. And again, I do think that this is the year that Sandy Brondello, more than ever with this Liberty squad, arguably ever in her career, is going to lean on that depth. Hey, Tulip, what's good? We appreciate you checking in for the first time. Welcome, welcome. We're talking a little bit about New York Liberty depth. And so I want to go to what we do know. And correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but again, we, of course, at Black Rosy Media also keep eyes on what's happening with the Seattle Storm. So we have confirmed that Gabby Williams has posted she will not be going to Eurobasket. We have confirmed that Dominique Malonga, I believe, with media availability today, said that she wants to be 100% in her rookie year in the WNBA. Makes complete sense. I believe Satu has already designated whether she will or will not go to Eurobasket.
Yeah, I saw Satu said that she's not participating this year. So, and she's going to really spend this year getting fully acclimated to Phoenix and what they're doing.
Yep. Exactly. So before we move on, not the main topic for this podcast, which has got to get up a podcast for New York Liberty fans, but also very interesting that both Gabby Williams and Satu Sabally, who said a lot last summer about prioritization, are prioritizing the WNBA this season. So again, something we can definitely talk about. And maybe that's why if you're on our Slack channel, you know that Gabby got a little maybe a little defensive when our very own Roberta Rodriguez tried to ask her about prioritization. I don't know, but we can talk about that some other day. But I didn't want y'all to think I didn't peep that because I did. And we can talk about that. But again, why is this related to our New York Liberty podcast? Because what we also have heard is that Nyara is expecting to go to Eurobasket. Leo is, as you said, not officially with the team right now, will be arriving soon, but I don't recall hearing if Leo is going to be away for Eurobasket. I don't recall hearing if Maureen Johannes is going to be away for Eurobasket.
Yeah, I have to double check to see if there's any reporting on it. I think the last I saw was that they're expecting, but I haven't seen a rock solid confirmation yet. I'll double check to see what's up. But I will say if those 3 are gone, it'll be a situation where everyone else gets to step up. And this is why having a player like a Kennedy Burke who can slide up and down the roster chart really helps a lot. Player like a Izzy Harrison soaking up those backup center minutes. They're having Beck Gardner back really opens up a lot too. So there are a lot of really good opportunities. Q Davis getting some guard minutes as well.
Really good.
This is why you have this is why you build a roster in the way that Jonathan Cope has done. Yep. And this is why you keep one foot in the international market, you keep another foot here, you put a hand in the development, you sort of you make yourself present everywhere, and within doing that, you allow yourself every fail-safe option and every opportunity to get support and have that presence needed. So if one person is down, another person picks up. You lose your heartbeat for the season. You have other players ready to step up and fill the gap for her. This is why you build a team the way you do.
Absolutely. This is a picture of Marquisha Davis driving right here. Looked great. Speed looked great. Power looked great. Decision making for the most part was good because this was at a time where, again, the New York Liberty were turning the ball over much more than they are going to, in my estimation, in the regular season. I see we have some comments regarding Laney's contract. We're going to get into that. I see a comment regarding Kayla Thornton, Kennedy Burke. I want to get to that next. However, I just want to clarify something here. New York could finish 3rd. Minnesota have Uhouse and Alana Smith. So Dorka will not be with the W this season. That was also announced. We didn't mention it because, again, not directly related to one of our official podcasts here at Black Rosy Media, but to my prediction, it's a very valid comment because I do think if New York isn't one, that Minnesota has a chance to be one. So they will have a chance to build their roster going into the season, knowing that Dorka will not be there. As far as Alana Smith, that I'm not sure with regard to what her decisions are. So that's going to be interesting to see. I want to, though, have you chime in first, and then I'll follow up regarding Lainey's contract. So we've talked about this a little bit before, but it's always good to come back. First is just the question. So Brian, I'll let you answer this one from Tulip Plays. If Lainey's contract is suspended, do the Liberty get to replace her with a similar size contract?
Yep. Yes, that's a great question, and more or less yes. So basically, like that sort of like gap in the salary cap is able to be filled in. It can be with like Ross, as far as like giving out the money among certain players that come in as pickups.
Yep.
You could, or if you want to make like one really big swoop, the wish casting for a lot of people is Emma Miesemann coming back from Belgium.
Oh.
That's the big one everyone wants.
Oh.
But, yeah, but like having the contract suspended does provide more flexibility for the team when it comes to managing out the roster as far as like putting things together. And I think also just on the Lainey Hamilton side, it's a situation where she doesn't have to sort of like speed back and race against time, especially with like a knee injury. Like we've talked about before, you get hurt in one area, you try to thug it out. You put more emphasis on another area, and then what eventually ends up happening? Two parts are messed up, and then everything you sort of like starts back from scratch all over again. So by having the contract suspended, at the very least, it gives her time to fully heal up without the pressure of having to get back on the court immediately. Right. So it helps. It hurts to lose her this year if her contract does get suspended, which we all expect. And I think the deadline is within, I want to say by Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. Like I know it's coming up very soon.
15th is Thursday. Yes, 12.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, Thursday. Yep.
Right. Okay. And what you just mentioned goes to, I see Tulip that you've typed it a few times here. I think it's the same question, but so why are the Liberty able to suspend Benajelani's Hamilton, but the Seattle, I almost said Kraken, the Seattle Storm aren't, when both are protected? And we talked a little bit about this with Roberta on Tempestagi Talk, but the difference between Benajelani Hamilton and Katie Lou Samuelson, just to use those two players as an example, is that Benajelani Hamilton, although she has a multi-year contract with the New York Liberty, she got injured in the offseason. And Katie Lou Samuelson injured while in camp with the Seattle Storm. Yeah. So that's the difference there, as I understand it. And there are other like technicalities with the contract and the CBA as it is written now, which of course is what the rule of law, so to speak, is. So, but that, Brian, is my understanding of why the situation and to your point, why now my team's confused. Why the New York Liberty, although they don't want to suspend Benajelani Hamilton, again, I just want to reiterate what you just said. But if they do so, and hopefully with a conversation that they're having with Benajelani Hamilton, because that would impact her financially, right? They want to have that conversation. And from a business perspective, that gives them more flexibility instead of having to hold a roster spot, or to put it another way, operate with one fewer active player, as opposed to providing that opportunity to, if not one veteran, like you said, with Miesemann, maybe even multiple players, depend on what their roster looks like. So they have some flexibility, including not going exactly up against the cap. So hopefully that made sense. But yeah, it's you also have to look at the other ACL injuries for Seattle very specifically. All of those happened, or excuse me, 2 of those happened in the offseason. Benajelani Hamilton, offseason. Katie Lou Samuelson, while she was in camp. So that's the difference.
Yeah, I guess it's almost like the liability piece, where it's like if it didn't happen on my property, I'm not responsible for it. But if it happened, like if it happened in my house, I'm the house owner. Right. I'm responsible for it. So it's that dynamic, but a lot less crude, if you will, but still.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, and let's keep it a buck, whether it's the WNBA and certainly in other leagues, has it felt that way, or has it been actually acted that way in poor taste, in my opinion, and in bad faith? Yes, we have seen that happen in sports. We I told you I was going to throw some shade at Phoenix. Also want to side eye Washington as well, because you want to talk about things that if we are to believe, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but Tosh is the only one that has spoken out about her being moved from Phoenix to Connecticut. And what she's telling us is that she was under the impression that she would retire in Phoenix. And let's just say there are a lot of other players on the New York Liberty that are closer to retirement than Tosh Cloud, or in the league, period. So it's not like this was an imminent, right? It's not something that's happening next season as far as we know. So she expected to be there long term, was effectively what she was saying. And she's not. I mean, their loss, our gain. So we will take it. Absolutely. But yeah, so not always acted on in good faith, but I used my words carefully because my understanding of the New York Liberty and Jonathan Kolb in particular is that he does like to have very upfront conversations. And so I would be surprised if we ever hear anything that indicates that Benigilini Hamilton wasn't in communication with the New York Liberty regarding the possible, not definitive and not definite as of yet, but the very possibility and the likelihood that her contract will be suspended.
Yeah, this is one of those moments where communication matters so much as part of your job, and if you bungle the communication, you burn a bridge that you didn't have to. And I think especially whenever you're trying to like build an organization and sort of like build a team, you want to make sure everyone's on the same page. You want to make sure everyone feels valued and heard, understood, because like it's a thing where teams are bad at communication. So like you have a player like Alea Nevievich, she told us before, I got drafted in 2020. I didn't hear from anybody. I got traded. My rights got traded. I didn't hear from anybody. I finally get to this third organization, and oh wow, you guys talk to me. You guys include me. You guys let me know what's happening and how I can be of help. And now I'm here, and it's great. Thank you.
Loyalty, yeah. She ran through walls, or tried to, for us. That was a joke. Anyway, I want to get to this question by Tulip. So Horston and Mule can be replaced, but not Katie Lou Samuelson. That's a way of thinking about it. If you think about it this way, Horston and Mule, their contracts are suspended, so they're not considered a part of the eligible pool in training camp. So they are effectively a part of the Seattle Storm organization because the Seattle Storm have the rights to their contract, but they are not active. And we talked about this a little bit on Tempestagi Talk. I don't think so much on the last episode of Gotta Get Up. But again, there's no long-term injured reserve, which also would make this a completely different conversation if we actually did. And hopefully the CBA can fix some of this. But yes, effectively, Horston and Mule, I don't want to say, I think I'm getting a little bit caught up on the word replaced. It's more as though they are swapped out. They are ineligible for action this season because their contract has been suspended. That doesn't necessarily mean that they won't be with the Seattle Storm next season, because the Seattle Storm still retain their rights to the contract. And I think further up, you also talked about restricted free agency and things of that nature. I honestly don't remember if Benigilini Hamilton is a RFA next season. It might be. If it's not next season, it might be the season after that. But even if she is an RFA, that R is important. The R is for restricted, which means that even if that is the case, which again, I honestly can't remember, and I'll look it up in a minute. Can't remember off the top of my head, Brian. But either way, if she is an RFA next year, or if they effectively unsuspend her contract for next season, assuming that they do suspend her contract this year, the New York Liberty still have first dibs, so to speak.
Yeah, like it essentially rolls over to next year, and when the cap gets when the cap turns into whatever it's going to turn into, by the time we get to New Year's, it's going to be a situation where we try to figure out, oh, this is the number we're working with, this is this is that, and this is where you're going to really need to. I saw someone make the point earlier that the CBAs for the men's and women's leagues are a little bit different. And on the men's side, they have so many sort of like capologists, lawyers, and cap specialists.
Yeah, we don't have as many.
Yeah, because I think even as like the size of the document is different. Like the men's one is
Oh
like
my gosh.
80 pages.
Yeah.
The women's one is like 400 plus. So it's like it's complicated in its own way. And God knows having to navigate who's restricted, like protected, all those kind of things are tough to navigate. So I think when it comes to that, having an ability to really have the good organizational infrastructure in place is going to be even more important. And this is where, as an organization, this is where spending money matters a lot, because you've got to make sure that you can spend it on the roster, but you have to spend it on the environment around them to get the most out of the roster. Because if you have a situation where, okay, I spend money on the roster, mission accomplished, and no GM, no cap folks, no secondary staff, none of those things, you run into a whole big old complication, and then you wind up falling behind on the sort of like piece of the infrastructure that other teams are beefing up. Like, just as an example, like Golden State is brand new and they're not going to win anything, but they've been putting the infrastructure in place so that way they can fully adapt to the changing environment that's coming in the WNBA starting in 26 and beyond.
Yeah. So now I didn't know. I thought she might have been an RFA, but so now this is a little bit of a different wrinkle because she's an unrestricted free agent this season, has a veteran contract, as we can see right there. And that also means protected veteran contract. Okay, Manisha, I'm not mad at that number, but okay, that's neither here nor there. So now what this means is if she's an unrestricted free agent and her contract is suspended, or if it isn't for that matter, either way, Benijah Laney Hamilton does not have to wait for the New York Liberty to make an offer before she pursues other offers. That's what that means.
Yeah.
That's what being an unrestricted free agent means. And so I want to come to Damien's question here. If Benijah Laney comes back from injury, then what? Well, either way, she's coming back from injury, or at least that's the expectation. So it's not a matter of if she comes back from injury, it's a matter of what her status is when she comes back from injury. So if her contract is suspended by May 15th, and like Brian, you mentioned the date, we're going to find out really soon because the Liberty have to turn over their official roster. If her contract is suspended and she doesn't play this year, because that's what that will mean, then she gets healthy and she's an unrestricted free agent with no loyalties, at least no legal connections to any team, including the New York Liberty. Now, does that mean she won't return? Does that mean the New York Liberty won't make an offer? None of those things. All it means is that it's in her court. She can listen to the Liberty, the Mercury, the Sun, and everybody and anyone. I was gonna say the tempo. She can entertain offers from anyone. That is gonna happen regardless of if she quote unquote returns from injury or not. Because again, she's gonna return from injury. Now, if you're asking what happens when she returns from injury and her contract isn't suspended, what that means is that the New York Liberty can use her as soon as she is off the injured list. That's the only difference. So it's not about whether she comes back from injury. It's really a matter of what her status is. If she is healed tomorrow, or let me put it this way, if on the 17th of May, 2025, she hit another one of them shots. She hit another one of them shots and all of the pain went away. I mean, I'm not advocating, even if there was such a thing, I'm just giving a very extreme hypothetical. If she's ready to go May 17th, 2025, but her contract is suspended, she will not be playing for the New York Liberty on May 17th, 2025. If she is good to go, however many shots, good to go on May 17th, 2025, and her contract was not suspended, then as of the time she is cleared medically, the New York Liberty have access to utilize her on the court. That's really the big difference. So it's not a matter of coming back from injury. It's a matter of what her status is as of May 15th.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, this is the question. This is the question. And we've already dabbled into this a little bit, Brian. Cancer 7877. Do you bring her back next year? She's up in age and injury prone. Now, there was a hypothetical that crossed our Black Rosie Media Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty. We really got to shorten that. I really got to shorten that. Anyway, we're past our GGU desk. There you go. Across the GGU desk, right, came a hypothetical of trading perhaps Banai Hamilton in order to get a player like Satu Sabally. We talked about that in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
I was okay with thinking about it. I was okay with thinking about it because I think the points that are made here, up in age is relative when it comes to the WNBA comparative to how we talk about other sports. So I never like to do that when it comes to, I don't want to assume that you and I and up in age means the same thing because baby, you know, Banai Hamilton's almost a decade younger than Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi at their retirement. So, you know, I ain't touching that one. But the point is here, injury prone is something. Now, also, though, with Satu Sabally, injury prone. And that's the conversation that we had. I'm not quite ready to answer this one, I don't think yet. One, I think it's a cop-out. I was going to say, maybe it depends on what they do with their contract. No, that's just me stalling, Brian. I don't know. I got nothing else to say. I don't feel comfortable. I'm not safe. Let me get back to my safe space. Brian, what do you think?
I'm not the best person to ask for this because I tend to be a bit of a sentimental sucker when it comes to players on a team. I'm like, man, you was here when they was coming off a 2-20 season, and then you carried the team in 21. You fought back from injury in 22.
I'm telling you, shot kicked in.
Yeah, 23, like you sacrificed the most, but you still held it together. Ooh. 24, like you're on one leg and you're battling out against an amazing Minnesota team in the finals. Like if you want to stay here as long as you want, we'll try to figure something out. Like I want to make sure that you, like, they already said she's going up in the Liberty Ring of Honor. Like, I want you to stay here as long as you want to. Like, if you choose to leave on your own volition, I understand and thank you for your service. But if I had my way, like, you can hang out here as long as you want to. Like,
it's tough because I'm with you, and this is a very good point, and it might not be a decision that's completely up to the New York Liberty. But I'm gonna go on another tangent in a bit. So I'm gonna put a little asterisk because there's something I was thinking about a lot earlier today that I want to come back to this particular comment about. But let's first talk about what this says from Tulip Place. Have to protect Leonie and Nyara alongside the big four. So I'm thinking we're talking JJ, Stewie, Sab. And who am I missing?
Cloud, right?
Oh, Cloud, right. Psh, not me talking about Natasha Cloud all episode. That she's on the team. Lay my head, not my heart, Tosh Cloud. Yes, I would agree with that. And that means that you leave Banai Hamilton unprotected. However, even though we were all collectively clowning them, and I have to admit, I didn't understand it at first, the Seattle Storm might have given Jonathan Kolb a little bit of the playbook on how to handle this. And so I'm going to come back to this right here. Our good friends at High Post Hoops, or excuse me, that's a whole nother thing, which I did at one point in time. But her hoop stats, my bad, Aaron, my bad. We're going to go back here because look at all these UFAs. And on the one hand, you might be sweating bullets. But if you remember last expansion draft, which was just a few months ago, Brian, who did Golden State pick from Seattle? Nobody. Nobody, baby. And the band keeps playing on. Ow, wow, wow, and ow, wow. Ow, wow, wow, and ow, wow. Ow, wow, wow, and ow, wow. Nobody, baby. Let me tell something to you. I promise. I was thinking about this all day. I was like, yo, I really dogged them. Like, yo, they disrespected you. They ain't pick nobody off your roster. And then the sage herself, who, Brian, you were just hanging out with in New York a few days ago. She made an excellent point, because the way the draft rules were, because you know they're about to change it. You know they're about to change it. That's why I'm going to be clear with my words. Last year, for the expansion draft, the Golden State Valkyries could only pick one player out of the entire league that had UFA status.
And now that I think about it, every player timed their contracts right so they could be a UFA when the new CBA kicks in and the new money comes in. And now that we have not just one, just one expansion draft, we've got 2 expansion drafts this year. So now it's a situation where it's going to be real.
I was excited, y'all. I was excited. I mean, I went with it. I just went with it. You know, I felt it.
I can you can never go wrong with Keith Sweat, personally.
Nobody. I'm telling you, I was thinking about that all day, Brian. I was like, yo. But also, because I know this because I cover an NHL expansion team where we had the Seattle Kraken. They had the closest in concession expansion teams, thus expansion drafts. So it was Vegas, and then like 4 full seasons going into 5, if I remember correctly, or something like that. That's when the Seattle Kraken came. And so within that 4 to 5 year span, they changed the draft rules. And if I know what I know, I would be shocked if something about the expansion draft doesn't change, and UFAs, especially knowing that we've got Portland also coming in. I'm just saying, don't be surprised if the New York Liberty can't get all the way live with that. Now I understand to be genius strategy. Because let me explain this to you, because I didn't understand it at first too. You know, sometimes it takes a minute. You know, for things to sink in, especially for me on the topics of, generally speaking, business and numbers. I get a little flustered. I get a little, you know, I gotta work a little harder for my brain to focus. I just know how I think. You know what I'm saying? But with words, I'm like, words, lyrics, I'm good. But here's what I understand now that I didn't understand then. So basically, what this means is there is a player that you absolutely know that you do not want to leave in the expansion draft, that you will protect, regardless of if they're a UFA or not. But it opens up the flexibility for you to make some educated guesses on other players, that maybe you don't have to make a decision to put them on your protected list, because you believe that the odds are that, given all of the other UFAs across the league, they are less likely to grab yours to snatch your UFA than other UFAs. So did Seattle protect NECA? Absolutely. Did they protect Gabby Williams? I know I would, regardless of if that was UFA or not, because that's just not a chance I'm willing to take. But then you have other UFAs, right? Vivian's was a UFA. Who are some others? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Mercedes was one as well too.
You know, even if you wanted to keep Vivian's, that's not someone that you have to add to your short list of protected players.
Yep.
So now the New York Liberty have to decide, assuming that they will lose one player, and assuming that the teams that are coming into the league can only pick one UFA each. They can be strategic in picking who they are going to protect and not, between Stewie, Sab, Cloud, JJ, Lainey Hamilton. Because even though she is a UFA, all of them are UFAs. For the purposes of the draft, they will be considered a part of the New York Liberty. So I also want to just clear that up. Who else? They have Burke and Izzy, assuming they both make the team, which I think they do. So now you can be, you know, a little strategic in who you protect and who you don't.
Yes, it's it feels like high stakes poker. So it's going to be really fun to see what this looks like once the CBA is due to be signed up. Because I
Yep.
know, Erica, in your conversations with Terry and the PA, they're aiming for mid-July to have the
Yes.
paperwork done.
That's
So
what they're hoping for.
like by July and All-Star in Indiana, they're hoping to have everything signed and sealed and delivered. So
Mhm.
with that in mind, we would have from July until, let's mark it late November, early December, as far as the timing of the expansion drafts, to sort of see what the world will look like. And then we have a good 5 months to really sort of like start synthesizing and processing what the CBA is and how the world is going to look going forward.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And that's ideal. Is it going to happen that way? Because Kathy's out here talking about, oh, we didn't even get a proposal in December. And so for those who are not in our Slack channel, you should absolutely join. I just want it because I haven't gotten around to getting all my ideas out on paper, air quotes, yet. I want to clarify something regarding the different reporting that has happened. So at the draft, Brian, you and I were both there, and I was in the room when Kathy said, she was asked if the reporting was true that the WNBPA provided a proposal in December. She said that is inaccurate. That is not accurate. The WNBPA did not provide a proposal in December. Now, as Brian, you know, and anyone who is in our Slack channel, because you also have access to the audio, I asked, or not I, but a group of us specifically asked Terry what her thoughts were. And she's like, I didn't hear what the commissioner said, so I can't talk directly to that. But what I can tell you is that proposals with an S, as in plural, have been sent. Now I want to take you back to what Kathy said, Brian, when you and I were in the room. Not only did she say that she did not get a proposal in December, she also said that the proposals that she received were, I can't remember if this is the exact word that she used, but she alluded to them being incomplete. Incomplete. To which then I did have a follow-up conversation with Terry Jackson because she spoke at an event I was at. And this is what I deduced from our conversation, which was not on the record, so I can't quote it directly. Or excuse me, I should say it's not that it wasn't on the record. I was not recording it, and I told her I was not recording it. It's what's called on background. So we're having a conversation that's effectively on background, but not really on background, because on background meant that I wouldn't tell you that Terry told me this, but it was more informal than on the record, but more formal than off the record, if that makes sense. It was for clarification. So what I clarified in my conversation with Terry Jackson is that perhaps the first proposal was not sent in December. So is it factual that Kathy and the league did not receive a proposal in December? Sounds like that is true. And so, because I found it interesting, and the emphasis that Kathy placed on December is what I wanted to focus on with Terry. And she was like, no. I was like, so did you send a proposal in December? And the response was no. So then I was going to get into, okay, well, what was sent where? And then I was like, let's back up a little. Did you send a proposal? WNBPA has sent a proposal. The WNBPA has not only sent a proposal, they've sent multiple proposals. Another thing that Kathy seemed to be getting hung up on is this fact in her mind that the proposal that she was sent, but not in December, was incomplete. Now, this is where a word I'm going to bring up starts with an S, ends with antics. Semantics. Semantics. Now I'm done with camps and I'm going semantics. Semantics. Because I don't know about you, Brian, but there is an assumption that I have that if I'm being sent a document that is called a proposal, that in some way it is incomplete, aka not final, aka I'm not signing it. It is an offer. It is a proposal. And if you like it, then you can put a ring on it. And in this case, that means you sign the damn thing. And if you don't like it, then you don't put a ring on it. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't a proposal. You know, like, hello? I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me. And people talking about, why is Kathy being so shady? I mean, she could be being shady, but I will leave it at this. It's semantics. She can honestly say per my reporting, that she did not receive a proposal in December. I do have, per my reporting, a little bit of an issue that she's saying what she received is incomplete because, again, by my definition, a proposal is just that. It is an exchange. It is part of a conversation. It is a draft of something to come, if you will. And that's exactly what I also got from the WNBPA, that said they sent multiple proposals. And by nature of those proposals, and just like any negotiation, it is a conversation that is ongoing. So there you go. That's what I can report. That's where we're at, in case you were wondering why all of a sudden now Terry Jackson was saying one thing, Kathy Engelbert saying another. They're both very smart women. I don't know if Kathy actually went to law school or has a law degree, but she went to business. She's a businesswoman by nature. And so although they don't speak the same exact like vernacular, the language is very similar. So just watch the semantics is all I'm going to say. Can y'all tell I was raised by a lawyer? Because I was like, we need to stop and anchor this in what's actual and real.
Semantics, the great game of the great attorney.
Yeah.
What is a proposal? How
When
would
you
you
say
define it?
proposal, what do you mean? It's like she was basically on some, they sent me concepts of a plan. She should have said they sent me concepts of a plan.
Boy, that Kathy's son, I'll tell you what.
They sent me concepts of a plan. I could have summarized that by just saying that, but now y'all know. That's the reporting. That's what's the audio message is in our Slack channel. So if y'all want to go hear it, make sure you join our Slack channel. Yeah, Amir, you missed the key. I broke out the Keith Sweat. I broke out the Keith Sweat to break down the UFA situation for next year. But all right, Brian, we got to get folks ready for this game. So I talked about it a little bit, but I want to go, or what I want to see from this team is what I talked about. But I want to go back to a question that I proposed. Get it? That I proposed to you earlier. And let's, instead of just having concepts of a plan, let's actually talk about it and get our final answer on the record.
Yes.
Do you think there is a difference between playing a WNBA team in preseason and a national team in preseason? And if so, what would you say are the differences?
I would say the differences are that the national teams, by and large, have more reps together. So you're getting a team that has a little bit more cohesion than a newly formed WNBA team. There are some differences. Like I know for Brazil, they were missing Camila Cardoso because the national, W players aren't allowed to play for the national team during preseason. So it's a little bit different, but still the bulk of the roster has time together. So they're more cohesive, they're more organized, I would say, than a W team that's sort of like incorporating their rookies, getting everyone back up to speed, things like that. So there's a little bit of a difference there. And I think also I'd say less pressure in a sense, because I know last year, like when the Liberty lost that game to the Sky in preseason, everyone lost their minds, and it was like, oh my God, look at this happening. And I was like, guys, it's just a preseason, don't worry about it. And then now you play the Fever can win a game against the Brazilian national team by a bunch, and it's like, oh, everyone they look good, they had these moments, but it wasn't there wasn't anything declarative made about it in a sense. There wasn't a situation where now people are like, oh, the Fever are going to go 44-0. Look at how great they were in the preseason opener. It's like, no, they look good. There's still some stuff you need to work on, and then you go from there. So it's different expectations, and there's not much. I would say, oh my God, the Sun went 5-0 in preseason. And then, oh look, they're gonna shock the world. It's like, no, it's just preseason. Don't worry about it. So now it gives, I think, playing the international games give you more room, and I think also it has the secondary benefit of beyond just exposing American fans to players that they may not be intimately familiar with if you're not really locked into international basketball, Eurobasket, the various leagues in Asia, Europe, and everywhere in between, North America as well. So it gives you as a fan more players to watch and take note of, and I think also gives teams something to look for because hey,
Yeah.
that somebody always hiring, and it's on the games this year. Watch free on League Pass, so everybody can watch. It's not a situation where everyone has to huddle up on some damn stream on,
Oh my
someone on her phone. Like,
Ooh, you read about that in the newsletter. Oh man.
Put this bad boy on your television. Get your notebook, your pen.
That's
jot
it.
down your notes.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. I think I do agree with everything that you said. And I want to address this because I think what you said is a really good way of kind of maybe countering this. I think many people think that if you're not playing basically the United States, that there's a massive drop in quality when it comes to national teams. These are national teams that compete at the world stage.
Yeah.
And so they're probably playing against your favorite player. So, the thing that we take for granted, in my opinion, as people from the United States, is that we have a team that has dominated in a pretty convincing way. But do I need to remind y'all how many, Brian, how many points did the USA win by?
Barely that. So if that toe was not on the line, buddy, it would have been Panic in the Disco.
Panic in the Disco. Cheryl Reeve would have been fired, but she might still be. But anyway, that's another conversation for another day. Listen, we got to have that conversation. But I just wanted to, because I do think in very specific circumstances, and if this were mid-season form for all WNBA teams, that you are likely going to get, especially a playoff WNBA team that can not guaranteed, but can convincingly beat another national team. I think that's a fact. Yeah. But what you also alluded to right off the hop, Brian, is that these are teams still working on their chemistry. And so that is an equalizer in my estimation, because of what you also said, that a national team has been together. And not y'all saying they got a 5-2, they got Muggsy Bogues playing on the on the Toyota Antelopes. Listen, I mean, I don't even know where to go with this. There's so many things to say. Don't listen, ankle biters, they call them that for a reason. They cause problems. You know what I'm saying? They cause problems. But also, I keep thinking of that photo of, it was a friendly, of Diana Taurasi just holding the ball over an opponent. Like, let's not be disrespectful, please. The Liberty are not like that. But Diana Taurasi definitely is / was. I say was only because she's retired. She's still around and kicking on this earth, but she is retired from basketball. She's just going to terrorize people for saying her name right. Or wrong, I should say. I think she's going to terrorize people like Whoopi Goldberg. No big deal. EGOT. She's not her coming after freaking Whoopi for saying her name wrong. Like, a part of me is like, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Another part of me is that's the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen. But I'm not saying she was wrong either way. Yeah. Either way, she wasn't wrong. But dang, DT.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, just like.
She's so wild. She's wild. I mean, but she is who she is. So, but no, I just wanted to, I think you broke it down excellently. There's not really much I have to add to that. So I guess we're going to see. That's my whole point. I do think, though, that this potentially could open Sandy up to lean into even more, really making this game a competition for those fringe players. And so we got to close out with this. I think, as much as I hate to say it, as a Boricua, Cubana, who just wants all of us from the Caribbean who are from Spanish-speaking descent and love our rice and beans, I would love to see Esmeri make the roster this year, and I just don't think it's in the cards. I think that this year, maybe more comparative to last year, that the position that she plays and the skill set that she has, it just doesn't make as much sense for her to be one of the extra players as it might make sense for other players to be on that. So I'm gonna say one of the first cuts is gonna be Martinez.
Yeah, because I think that especially the forward room is so good this year. Even now that Leo's back, Burke looks great.
Yep.
Beck Gardner looks fantastic as well. Like it's a really hard room to break through, and I would say I agree. I think it's gonna be barring like a miracle of some sort. I don't expect it.
Yeah, that one's tough, but I think it's true. That means honestly, oh, I really think Sherrod and Q they played really well. They played really well. And I think there's a world in which maybe one of them can sneak on, but I don't think we get both this season.
Yeah, it's gonna be the math of it's gonna be really tough, and they're off. So they travel back tomorrow. They're off Wednesday. So when next time we see them on Thursday, we'll have a full beat as to what the roster will look like. So I'm definitely gonna like keep an eye out and see what Sandy says as to like what went into the decision making when it came to putting the final roster together. And I'd love to sort of like talk with her and the staff, ask like, what stood out the most? What do they expect from the young players that are going to make the team coming out of camp this year? So it's a lot to sort of like digest and dig into. So we've got a lot on our plates this week.
Yeah, I would agree. Because let's just do a countdown. Assuming that they suspend Benajelini Hamilton, right? Let's make that assumption because we heard from Jonathan Kolb that's likely what's going to happen. So roster spot number 1, we're just going to go down the list. This is not in any order. It's just literally the order that's on the screen. So roster spot 1, Stewie. Spot 2, Sab. Spot 3, Tosh Cloud. Spot 4, Jonquel Jones. We skip Benajelini Hamilton. Spot 5, Nyara Sabally. Spot 6, Kennedy Burke. Spot 7. No, I'm going to go spot 7, Leo.
Yep.
Right? Because, they're not getting rid of Leo. Spot 8, I think we then go down to Beck Gardner.
Yep.
And spot 9, again, in no particular order, except that these are how they're listed. Marine Johannes is making the team.
Yep.
So that's already 9 spots. So who then do we think are the other 3?
My 10th would be Harrison. I think the size she gives, I think is going to matter, especially when Nyara leaves in June. She can give some good minutes. Like I think she'd be a good fit in the team. So that's 10. Number 11. Scroll down. Where's Davis? I wonder where her salary pops up at. But it might be a little.
Davis is here.
Okay, so 11. First round pick. You still want to see what she does, and then with Marine gone in June as well. That's an opportunity for her to get those guard minutes, and that's going to be where all the hard work, her play in China, and everything else is really going to come through and matter a lot. So that's number 11.
Now, that means that we're between Odom and Sherrod for that 12th spot, assuming, and this is only assuming that the New York Liberty carry 12, which they do not have to do.
Yeah, they can stop at 11 if they want to. And then sort of like fill in the gaps with hardship contracts as needed.
Yep.
So now we have 3 people for 1 spot.
We've already talked about Martinez, so we'll say it's down to Odom and Sherrod.
I would say for Odom, she runs into the same problem that Martinez does, in that the forward room is so stacked and good that there may not be room for another. Like you love wing versatility, but you also want to like spread the roster out a little bit more to ensure that you're not it's like you don't want to pour too much into one basket while leaving things shorthanded in other areas. And I think because of that I think that locks in Jalen as at the last spot, because having that backup point guard and someone that they have sort of like given a lot of like investment in, like it really gives them time to really sort of like see more, soak up even more game, because she learned from Sloot a lot last year. Now you're learning from a Tosh Cloud this year, and having that opportunity to learn even more And when she does get those minutes, like she gives that energy and that sandpaper you talk about a lot, Erica.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, so I think that'll be enough to sort of push her over the top.
All right. I'm inclined to agree. I do like Odom's story, and again, check it out. The amazing Jackie Powell has it, but I think I'm going with Jalen Sherrod on this as well. I like what I mean. Again, this picture to me is everything. I think you saw her confidence when she got minutes in that preseason game. So I love it. All right. I have been seeing in the chat that an oldie but goodie as far as topics that we talk about here on Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans, brought to you by Black Rosie Media. Damien once again wants to know if the veterans should get a ring on what we now know will be the ring ceremony, which is on the 17th. I have very vehemently made my case here, Brian. So I'm gonna keep quiet for now. I'm gonna toss this one. I'm gonna apple from me to you. I'm gonna let you handle this and answer however you would like to the question if the legends, Liberty legends, should get championship rings even if they didn't earn it.
All right, I would say my yes is contingent on solely the thought of them being across from Becky Hammond and giving her a ring anyway. I want to see solely how Becky reacts to that, because I find Becky's sort of like relationship with the Liberty and the players here to be so fascinating these days, considering that she is part of their biggest rival. So that part would be hilarious for me and me alone, and I'd love to see that. But I think as far as like giving rings to like the legends of the organization, I lean towards no, not because I don't appreciate what they've brought to the table beforehand, but I feel like that championship ring is so unique to the players who are on the team and the players, the people who are in the organization. I feel like it's like it's for them only in a sense. It's like I can appreciate what the folks like Sue Wicks, Teaspoon, Lobo, Becky, Piff Prince when she was here, all these players. Well, Piff works for the organizer, a little bit different, but like I can appreciate all these things that they've done. And so as far as like establishing the foundation for the Liberty, but I think for the championship ring itself, I'd be like, not quite. I would say like if Joe and Clara Size sent like bouquets and like a thank you card or something like that to every person, whoever stood up for the Liberty, like that, I'd be like, okay, that's perfect. Like, yeah, like you celebrate them, you appreciate them, you acknowledge them, and thank them for their part in building the foundation of the league and this team in particular. Like that part is perfect. But as far as like the hardware itself, I kind of want to leave that to the people who suited up for the team. I feel like that's theirs to share together. And that would be, I'm like, that's the way I would do it.
Yeah, thank you, Brian, for chiming in. I am going to come to two questions from Tulip. One, wait, why would they? I do not know personally, but it is a topic of conversation we have come across a few times here. But I am going to address this now. Now, wait a minute now.
Careful in that part. Careful.
Hey, wait a minute. Whoa. Can't be rewarding failure. No, ma'am. No, sir. No, partner. If there was a failure for the New York Liberty squad during the years where they quite literally were running the Eastern Conference, it was James Dolan and his failure alone. Well, I mean, also you had, big man Isaiah. I'm not even gonna go there. I'm not ready. I'm not prepared to have that conversation today. So I have to save it for another day. We're gonna have to save it for another day. But I will tell you right now, the failure, the bad New York Liberty squads are very concentrated. And it's between the end of the Tina Charles era / going to Westchester County and the very beginning of the Sabrina Ionescu era. Those were the worst New York Liberty squads, to the tune of the New York Liberty in history have only ever had one number one pick, because the New York Liberty historically were not a lottery team. So wait.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think they're gonna get the same ring as the team that won in 24. And I think that's the right thing to do for all of the things that Brian said. I can't sit here and say that the legends that Damien is talking about now, they are not failures. They are not failures. Their season did not end the way they wanted it, but they built the institution that is the New York Liberty. So I just want to make that clear. But as far as giving them the same rings
Yeah.
that the players and the staff and the executive staff are going to get, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
One
What I
thought.
will say is, I just want to add real quick, and then I'll let you cook. I love the bouquet idea. If there's like a Letterman jacket that the size provide to the team, give them the Letterman jacket. Absolutely. That honors a very unique, and then it's because they are a part of the New York Liberty sisterhood. I will give you that. But they did not win the 2024 championship. They are not in that sorority, so to speak, but they are New York Liberty legends. They're in the rafters. They should be respected and appreciated. Bouquets, specialty jackets. You want to give them like a retro, commemorative ring that is different from the team ring. I'm down with it. I'm down with all of that. But them getting the same ring, or I mean, I'm not this picky, but I could also see why people are like, don't give them a ring, period. Give them another token. But to give them the same ring as the players that were grinding it out, poor Sabrina Ionescu going 1-19, wasn't even on the floor when the team won, and people trying to tarnish her name. She's gonna get the same ring as Sue Wicks? Absolutely not.
But before I get to my thought, I'm so glad you mentioned the word jackets, because last year, the New York Liberty got some bomb off-white jackets, and
They sure did.
I told Brian Fleurantin, I was like, "Hey, Brian, hook me up." I am so glad you said the word jackets, because it slipped my mind. Now
Hey.
that's back in my mind. Next time I see Brian, thank you.
Oh,
Thank
you
you.
trying to get a jacket? All I
Yeah.
want is, I saw one of the photogs had a decal, like a sticker of the logo with the championship on the mosaic, the tile mosaic. That logo is so fire. I'd be like, Brian, just hook me up with a sticker packet. I don't need a whole jacket. I mean, but if you want to give Brian a jacket, you might as well give me a jacket. But also, I just want the sticker.
Hey, we signed contracts, dang it. I want a jacket. That jacket is coming home with me.
I'm telling you, jackets would be fire. That would be fire. Give them a jacket. And then they each get patches, like the W did this, right? For one of their like decade teams or whatever.
Yeah.
They have unique patches for all of their accomplishments. Like, that would be dope. Made for the W. I've got some back here. Made for the W hats here. That's the Comets one in the back. I think I might have moved it, but usually the Sacramento one is right here. Made for the W is about to make some hats, because those hats are only for teams that have brought home a title. And now the New York Liberty, they got one. So give them special something. But the same rings, I ain't with it. All right, we're gonna start closing out here soon. I will take the edit, although I'm still a little in my feels, but I appreciate the edit. They did not get the word. They didn't get, and I kind of knew what you meant, but I semantics. The word of the day is semantics. If there's one thing y'all got to know about me, I'm gonna lean into some semantics. That's why I knew it when I heard it. I was like, oh, we playing semantics in these streets. I will always, you got to pick your words carefully in these streets. All right, I might be talking all quick and stuff, but I be knowing what I'm saying. I be knowing. Anyway, gotta get up jackets. Listen, come on, we gotta get some of those. Okay, quickly on this, because there's also some hypotheticals that we have to mention. Okay, so we mentioned that the New York Liberty were hopeful that the New York Liberty, which is also weird because it means they would suspend Benaja's contract, but it sounds like the New York Liberty are likely going to suspend Benijah Laney Hamilton's contract so that they can go up to 12. So in this hypothetical, we're going to assume that the New York Liberty is going to hold 12 players, sans or without Benijah Laney Hamilton. Now, where does hardship come in? Let's assume now quickly that they don't carry 12. They can actually keep a few roster spots open. But hardship, as I understand it, And I'm not 100% clear if it depends on why you are at this amount. But once you dip under 10 players who are physically able to play for your team and are on contract, then you qualify for hardship. So what does that mean? As I understand it, Brian, hardship for the New York Liberty wouldn't kick in, for example, if Leo and Nyara and Marine Johannes do decide to go to Eurobasket because they're not injured. They are making a choice. Now, I'm not exactly sure. This is where it gets a little finicky for me, but that's as I believe I understand it. Hardship is more, or maybe because there's a hardship, and then I think maybe there's an emergency hardship clause, which might be a little bit different. So I keep getting it confused. But there is a line where it's not just, oh, see, 3 of our players are in Europe. Now we need a hardship contract. Wait a minute, not necessarily. Or at least not an emergency hardship contract. Now, they might be able to sign someone on a 7-day contract, temporary contract, but hardship and emergency hardship in very specifically is when you fall under that number because of injury. So Katie Lou Samuelson is hurt right now, but the Seattle Storm are not going to qualify for a hardship contract now because they don't even have a full roster yet. Yep. But if they decide not to go with Katie Lou Samuelson, so they have 11, but then they have another, 10-9, another 2 players, right, get hurt, not leave, because Gabby's staying, Dom is staying. If they get another 2 players hurt, Katie Lou Samuelson, who's on their roster, but cannot play. So basically that's a 12th roster spot that really doesn't exist as far as active, not a part of the active roster. That would be emergency hardship. The New York Liberty, their situation with hardship contract, but especially emergency hardship contract, is going to be different because, at least as of right now, the only player that they're dealing with injury is Benijah Laney Hamilton. But if she's not on the roster, that means they could have filled their roster, but they effectively perhaps chose not to. So that's different. I know that was a lot of words. And as I said, I'm not even 100% sure. There's a line, and I'm not exactly sure where the line is when it comes to emergency hardship, and then 7 days, and then you're just asked out. Like, it's pretty close. They're all very close.
Yeah, because it's like as you were breaking it down, I was thinking about the situation with the Liberty last, I want to say June, when Sloot was out for family, dealing with her mom's passing, and then Benijah was out injured at the same time. The Liberty, I think they only had like 8 or 9 players, and they weren't able to use a hardship. And then in July, I think after the All-Star / Olympic break is when they were able to sign Jalen to a 7-day contract, not a hardship. Yes. So it's a lot of different. You have to sort of like hit certain like benchmarks and like time check marks throughout the season. Yep. And then certain things sort of like trigger and become open as a result. Exactly. So it's a lot of calendar watching. It's a lot of like navigating injuries, depending on how long someone's out for. It's a lot of different complications coming together. So I would say when it comes to hardship, if you're down to like 7 or 8 people, okay. For instance, LA have Julie and Cam coming back next month, so they can be granted the exception to carry 2 extra till they're back. Cam is due back late June is the early.
Yeah, and so in this scenario, I don't think that they will carry extra players because assuming they carry 12, or if they choose not to carry 12, that's a choice that they made. Now, if you go from 12, once they're under 10, aka they have 9 able bodies, 9 or fewer able bodies, that's when emergency hardship comes in. So if LA knows they're not going to have Julie and Cam, and they have a full player of 12, then they don't qualify yet for emergency hardship. You have to be under 10, is my understanding. You have to be under 10. So they'd be at 10 with those 2 players not starting right away. Because if they're coming back next month, I can't imagine they're going to suspend their contracts. That wouldn't make sense. So therefore, they're not going to then sign someone else, because then, as Brian was talking about, the calendar, but then also the budget planning, if they were to do that, that's going to mess up Julia and Cam's bag, even though I don't think technically it even can. But again, there's a lot of layers, and this is my long-winded way of saying the W needs to fix this.
Yeah.
Damon, I don't know what I did to make you mad this time. You already knew what I was going to say about the rings, so I don't know. I don't even know. Uncalled for. You asked a question. I just answered it. I don't know.
Yeah. We don't worry about it.
All right. Hopefully, Tulip, that was as helpful as we can be, at least for now. But if I'm LA, no, they're not going to carry 2 extra players, because that's going to send them over the cap, unless someone else somewhere takes a cut. But even then, they're really just not in a position to do that.
Yeah. And also another thing the PA will have to deal with is that the cap is especially hard. Like the only sport that I think has a harder salary cap might be the NFL. Like they're the only place I could think of that has a salary cap that like strict, and you can't you could barely go over. Like there are times where like you'll go on her hoop stats and it'll say available cap space $5. And it's like, what am I going to do with that? So the cap is really stringent and really difficult, and it's really set at a particular number. So you have as little, like the first move you make is the most important move, because that dictates how everything else flows from there.
Yep, exactly. Hey, well, Tulip, we're glad that you found us. Thanks for tapping in, and absolutely join us. This is a perfect time as we transition and get y'all ready for this game. But we go live on Mondays for this podcast. Got to get up a podcast for New York Liberty fans. We usually start around 7:30, 7:35 Eastern time. Then on Wednesdays, we do Tempestade Talk. Tempestade is the Portuguese word for storm. So that's our Seattle Storm podcast. That's on Wednesday nights at 6:30 Pacific time. So it's super late for y'all on the East Coast. But 6:30 Pacific time on Wednesdays is when we do our Seattle Storm Talk. But as you can see from this episode, even though we concentrate more specifically on the New York Liberty or the Seattle Storm, depending on which one, we're going to talk about things that come up throughout the league. So we're glad we saw you, but you can always subscribe and also hit the notifications. That's a really good way for everyone to make sure you know when we're going live, but that's the schedule. And you'll probably hear this next time you come on. But another thing just to be mindful of, in the event that for this podcast, Got to Get Up, that we cannot, or the schedule doesn't work, that we go on a Monday, our backup is Thursday night. And the backup for Tempestade Talk is Sunday afternoon. So, oh, dang, you're on London time. Oh, dang. Okay. Well, the good news is you can always watch the replay if you don't want to stay up, but we do live stream. So we do live just like we're doing now, but then we also make the stream available to rewatch. So join whenever is convenient for you. And hopefully we'll have some recording times that are a little bit more in between for you.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I know.
I went to London last summer. It was really beautiful. Like during the Olympic break, I was off for a couple of weeks. I was like, let me hop out to Europe for a little bit.
That's awesome.
London, beautiful place. Like,
very beautiful.
I'd love to go back one of these days.
So funny. Can the Liberty make adjustments in June? Well, I think it's going to depend on, we kind of talked about it earlier. We don't exactly know right now. It's not been confirmed whether MJ and Leo in particular are going to be away. So they might not need to make a lot of adjustments in June. Can they make adjustments? Absolutely. I think this team is predicated on being able to make adjustments. And I think that some of the frustration for me in seeing them play in that game, Brian, against Connecticut, is that they were almost trying too many things. But again, that's not really a good criticism, because it's the preseason and that's exactly what they're supposed to do. It was just uncomfortable because I think I was like, I can see the potential here, but they're really throwing everything up on the wall, which I think will benefit them. So, hey, let us know if you end up over here, come to a New York Liberty game. That would be hella dope. All right, Brian, another thing, we didn't lean into it as much, but there's something that I want to talk about. And I'm very curious to see how it's going to impact one player in particular. But this is a homecoming for Nyara Sabally and Sabrina Ionescu. You could also say it's familiar territory for some of the UCLA alum on the roster, Pac-12 RIP. But I know, sad. So that would be Kennedy, Burke, and Gardner, right? Also
Yes.
UCLA. Yep. Yeah, sad Pac-12 doesn't exist anymore. But I wanted to mention Nyara and even more specifically Sabrina, because Nyara, you know, her journey was definitely a challenging one with her injuries, but Sabrina has gone, I don't want to compare their journeys, so to speak. And what we've heard from Sabrina is that she really felt that she didn't have a lot of closure, because not only was she drafted during COVID, but her graduating class was the year that the tournament did not happen at all. So it wasn't delayed, it was flat out denied.
Yeah.
It was denied. And that was an Oregon Ducks team that felt they were really good. So I think it's going to be great for Nyara to go back. But Sabrina has also said that this particular trip, coming on the other side now with her, I almost said national team, with her professional team as a champion, because she's been to Oregon as a champion, but she hasn't been there to play basketball.
Mhm.
And it seemed like being on the court, playing basketball, knowing that she's on the other side of getting a championship, she talked a lot about closure. And I mentioned, remember, that after she got through the Olympic gold medal, there was like a lightness to Sabrina for the rest of the season. I think that there was understandably, and not negatively, but understandably some anxiety that she was dealing with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anxiety was hella, like, there was a lot going on. First Olympic team, just got to the finals and didn't go your way. A lot of pressure to get back to the finals. She talked about also getting married within that time frame. So just a lot of newness, a lot of like life goals. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of Sabrina we see on the court tonight.
Yeah, like I saw today a really
You know, I got to do it, y'all.
like I saw a fascinating quote today from Kelly Graves. It was in 2020 after Oregon won the Pac-12 tournament. He was like, now that we won the Pac-12 tournament, I'm so excited for fans to be here for our games for the tournament. And then that was her last, like you mentioned, that was her last game as a college player. And then it's like, oh, I'm getting ready to do this. Like, this building's going to be jam-packed. Be ready. And then it's like, nope, not happening. And there's just like the like, just thinking back to COVID, the suddenness of it really hurt the most. And it's like, you're thinking things are just going to be okay, but then it's like, no, it's not. It's not going to be okay.
No,
And there's really no way to process it, because it's, oh wow, it's over. You're stuck in your house. Look, guess what? You're a professional now. You're not going to Brooklyn at where you thought. You're going to Bradenton, Florida. Oh, you're here 2.5 games. Your ankle's messed up. The next year of your life is going to be a wreck. And then you come back, you fight your way back. You play when honestly you probably should have sat, but it's like, I got to get back out there. That pressure's coming. Oh, Sabrina's not hitting with how she's supposed to. She's this and that.
Yep.
More pressure. Then the next year comes. Oh my God, we won opening night, but then we lose 7 games in a row. I'm still not 100% quite yet. And then you build yourself back up. The team starts winning. You get to that all-star performance. Like your body's right. Your mind is starting to get right. Reinforcements come in. You level up to meet them. Now your personal life is getting better. Like you and your partner are happy. You're settled. You're married. You are an Olympian. You help save the USA from disaster. Like,
listen, Sabrina and Ka, man. Sabrina to Ka.
Yep. Kalia Copper, you are a superstar at my house for days and days and days on end. Like, your contributions and those 2 free throws hit in the fourth quarter will never be forgotten.
Huge.
And then back.
Yeah. So just want to answer this real quick. Brian is in New York pretty much full time. I am from New York. I live in Tulsa right now. I might or might not be in Tulsa in even like a few months, but I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So when you see this background with the champions, that means I'm in headquarters. That means I'm at Black Rosie Media headquarters, which is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But just wanted to answer that. But no, I mean, you mentioned it again, like that's the process. And even Sabrina being able to articulate that to us, to me, shows that she's through a lot of it. You know, she's on the other side of a lot of it because she's, you know, Tasha's a thug in her own way. I was gonna say, and I'm not gonna work through all my 80s and 90s hits tonight, maybe some other night, but if you know, you probably know what song I was thinking about. But anyway, she's not a thug in that same way, you know. Tosh she's an East Coast thug. So Sab's from the West Coast. She you know, she do a little different. She do a little different out there. But she, you know, she got some sandpaper for sure. And I think she was very guarded with us because of all of those things that you mentioned when she first got drafted, when she first came to market after being drafted. And I think we're starting to see things open up because, I mean, if you know, Brian, you and I both know we're around the team. And one of the things that we hear, especially coming out of training camp, is from people who are working with Sabrina, playing with Sabrina for the first time. They're like, oh, she's really not quiet, y'all. And I'm yeah, we know. Like Tosh said that. She's like, no, don't believe the hype. Sabrina ain't quiet, y'all. And I'm like, yeah, we know.
Iopnescu, underrated yapper. Yap. The referees will be like, no, what do you mean she's quiet? What are you talking about? She be barking at us all the time. What you mean?
She's not quiet. She's calculated is maybe the word I want to say, but she's not quiet. Tosh is not calculated. Tosh is reactionary. And I relate to that hard. But Sabrina's
tonight, buddy. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, Sabrina's more calculated. I'm not sure where this is coming from because I don't think I ever said that Sabrina said anything about repeating. So, and I don't know if I understand completely. Can you rephrase this, Damien? I don't know. Do you mind and body was working as a team? I don't know. If you could rephrase it, because I'm not sure I understand completely. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's cool, Tulip. Like, listen, I'm a big Plum Dog fan. And Dearica, listen, we didn't talk about the Dearica Hamby news again, not really in our purview here. Go ahead, Brian.
This is why I've got that in tomorrow's newsletter.
Hey, look at there. Tulip, you're going to want to make sure you read the Women's Basketball Roundup. That is our twice weekly newsletter curated by this gentleman right here from the planet of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Brian Fleurantin. We got behind the scenes. Also, shout out to Angelica Rodriguez, who's helping edit now for us. So we've got a whole team now working on the newsletter, but Brian is our fearless leader there. So yeah, check it out. But I'm excited to see what the Sparks can do.
I remember, like, for Tulip, we talked about we broke down each team a few weeks ago as thinking if they're going to be contenders, playoff teams, or wait till next year.
Yep.
I still think the Sparks are a year away, but I've been wrong before. And if we get the year 2 rookie of growth, which we expect, Cam Brink coming back presumably in June, early July, I think Kelsey Plum, like, there's, you know, we talk a lot about professionals and like what we see on the court and what may be happening off the court. I think for Kelsey, we mentioned it briefly last week, but it really felt so heavy with the Aces in so many different ways. And I think for Kelsey, getting out of that and getting to a spot where, hey, I'm back reconnected with my friend. Like, I saw Roscoe Unwoode interviewed Dearica Hamby a while back, and they were talking. She asked Dearica about her relationship with Plum, and she was like, we weren't good for a while. Now we're back good again. And it's like weird. The love is sort of like back, if you will. And I think for the context of Dearica's exit is so heavy to really dive into. And it's like that as a person and like losing losing the organization that you thought was really behind you and losing your friends in the process at the same time is super heavy. And
Very.
getting that back is like, it's almost immeasurable, knowing that, okay, my people are back with me now. Like,
Yeah,
I'm set here, I'm secure. Like, that's where like the real life aspects of it really come into play. And then for Plum, like her personal life was in the newspapers. And for athletes, like, you're in the news, but you don't want to be on the TMZ news, if you will. Like, you don't want to be there. Like, and
I'm
also,
very intrigued. I'm
I
very
would
intrigued.
I would have stayed. I'll stay. Like, not to make this Tempestashi talk briefly, but I will say for Jewel Lloyd this season, can you not shoot 29% from 3-point range? Like, that can't happen again. Like, that cannot happen again. Like, you are slotting into essentially number 2 on the offensive responsibility chart. Like, last year in Seattle, we talked about it a lot on Tempestashi Talk. Who's in charge? Who's number 1? Who's the boss? Here,
Yeah.
hey, you are not A1, so you are gonna slide in.
Literally, it's in the name.
Yeah, you're wearing
one.
You're wearing her shoes. She's not wearing yours. So that means
Literally.
Like, when it comes down to it, give her the ball.
Listen, Bad Boy Bill did a lot wrong, in my estimation, in New York, and we could talk about that in New York and in Vegas. But one thing he ain't messing around with is he told y'all from jumpity jump before she had a statue and all that, before Nike started, stop acting like they ain't know. Bill done told y'all this is Asia's team. Now, he had Liz Cambage on that team. You got the point guard has been on that team. AC, all of these, and ain't none of them get the green light, keys, vroom, vroom, like Asia Wilson. He told y'all. Had Sister Girl crying after losing in the semifinals and saying some of y'all basically got to buck up, Buttercup. And you know what? He believed it. Now, Asia did what she did, and it's understandable. But, he came from a different era. And so that's when he was like, listen, all right, I said what I said. She going to be, it's her team. And if I can't be the shoulder to cry on, I know I got oversized suits, but they got to stay dry, homie.
That, like, in 2020, Bad Boy Bill had the headband on. I'm like, hey, hold on.
Hilarious.
You did not wear a headband when you played for Detroit. What is this now? With the
but also, do you remember why he did that?
I forget why. Why did he do it?
Because they were talking about like the amenities that the WNBPA had made arrangements for them to just be able to get certain things done in the Wubble, but the coaches did not have access to people to give haircuts. So Bad Boy Bill was looking extra. He was looking extra rough with his oversized suits. Oh man, yep. So
there's this meme on Twitter where it's like the word pain, and then it's just Bad Boy Bill with his headband, just like staring into the abyss. I'm like, oh,
yep. Man,
why y'all do Bad Boy Bill like that?
Bad Boy Bill, man. Listen, I feel the way I feel about Bill and beer, the way I feel about Tina Charles. It is complicated, and I ain't gonna hold their water. They don't need me to, and they probably would feel some kind of way talking about I'm from New York. I'm like,
me too. What you talking about?
Okay, cool story. Okay. Tina. All right. You from Queens? From Queens? On the 6th, baby? What you know about that?
I'll make a brief point about that. Man, people from Queens, they man, look. Queens, look.
Okay, like Queens doesn't know, like that just tells me something. Now, if you get more specific, I might give you your props. But if you just say Queens, I'm gonna be like, all right.
Where you from?
Queens where?
Where?
What Queens? What Queens? Tell me what Queens. Queens where? Queens where? Like be specific. You say the Bronx, you ain't really got to be that specific because you know what it is? If someone doesn't say the Bronx and they're from the Bronx, that means they're probably saying Riverside, and then they already messed up. We already know. That's like saying, where are you from in Harlem? Or, not just saying Harlem or East Harlem or West Harlem.
Yeah.
You want to say Morningside High. Oh.
Okay.
Okay. You're basically 96th Street North. You're North 96th. Get out of here. Like, stop. 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 Like, you had to be that specific. Like, you're not from Harlem. You don't even, like, you're not from Harlem. Come on. And you want to say the Heights, that's different.
Yeah.
But you want to morning, you got to say Morningside. Like, do you mean just say Columbia? Just say Columbia. Like, listen, why are you playing games? Like, you trying to be down? Just say you're from Columbia, my dude. Because anyone who knows that that's what you trying to like front. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Nope, don't do that. Anyway, not me going off. No, because man, people be fronting out here. No, listen, Tina's stat padding. Listen, nah. We're not going to do it on today's episode, but I got a lot of things to say, Tulip. Come back for the Tina Charles experience. We'll give you the full Tina Charles experience some other time. Because, baby, I done gone off about this woman a lot. And I will defend her in certain things. Very specific things. But listen.
Connecticut's gonna be such a.
I put it in the Slack. I'm like, I don't even know how she makes decisions sometimes.
For that one, no. They'll do their ring ceremonies when they come into town.
Yep.
So I believe KT is gonna be coming the end on Memorial Day weekend. I think it's when the Valkyries are in town.
Right. Let's see. Hold on. Let me do it by team. I don't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, I think it is. It's the end of May. So wait, okay. So Thursday, May 22nd, they're at Chicago.
Yeah.
But they usually get their rings when they come back. So to your point, that will be the 29th for KT with the Valkyries. And it looks like Chicago is first in it. Dang. I'm scrolling. Hold up, wait a minute. Gonna end the program before I even get here. Yo, what in the world? Why is this?
You found it?
It's literally the last game of the season on September of all days, September 11th.
Hold up, let me look at the calendar.
And I said that, and now I feel bad because no, it's September 11th. I just scrolled all the way down. Unless I looked at it wrong, I was going fast, but.
Let me pop in the calendar. New York Liberty schedule.
No, they're at Chicago. Hold on. I did look at it wrong. I was like, wait. Hold on. I looked at it wrong because I forgot I was toggled in New York, not Chicago. Hold on. They definitely play Chicago on September 11th, but it's in Chicago.
Yeah.
They play. I see June 10th. I think is the first time. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I
was like, what? I was like, I didn't remember it was that late. No, June 10th. Okay. All right. I'm glad we figured it out.
Yeah. So Sloot will be back. She'll get her ring that night. There will be a lovely tribute video because Liberty are great for those kind of things. So they'll do that. KT, just speaking of KT, like I love that the championship Liberty Unlock ended with KT. It was like a very fitting tribute to a person that meant so much to this team. And it's like, thank you for closing out with her. Like
I agree. I mean, we saw KT talking all like jovial in the Valkyries, because she didn't always want to talk. She'd be like, what'd you say? She'd be on her car, you know?
Like one thing about KT and talking with her is like if you ask someone that's like, what you talking about? She'd give you the, hey, what you talking about, dog? And I'm like, Kayla, you right. I'll make sure my question's not clear.
Right.
I got you, big dog. Don't worry.
Yeah, let me reset. Cause she'd be like, what is that? Like she'd be on her car, like a little bit more, it's like a little bit more polite, I would say, because Ka is just raw. But Gordon be like, wait, can you say that again? Like giving you a look, like not because she didn't understand, but she gonna give you another chance.
Like you need to get it right, buddy.
Right. She's like, I'm gonna give you another chance to lock that in.
Like for people like who are watching, like asking questions is a lot harder than you think. Because like I'm so petrified. Like my entire existence when it comes to stuff is like not having people think I'm an idiot. I'm like, I know stuff. I can put words together. I don't triple for words. Please,
right? So we're like, I can switch too. I can switch. He's on his Nika. I can switch. No, it is tough. It is tough. It's definitely an art. It takes some time. And then what's sometimes it's challenging, but like in a good way. There are also a lot of reporters in the WNBA that have really long-standing and actually fantastic relationships, professional relationships with the players. And so when you're in a scrum with certain people, you just know like I'll just pick up the scraps. Like there's nothing earth-shattering, groundbreaking that I'm gonna ask when Ari Chambers or Roz or LaChina, is in a like Tarika. Like it's not happening. You just
And
take the scraps.
and also, this is like my fourth season, like being at Barclays Center, and I still haven't mastered the art of knowing when to butt in during a scrum to get in. I'm like the person who like everyone's like chattering in class, and like I'm raising my hand to answer every time, and I'm like that is it's just how I'm wired, guys. Please understand.
Yeah, no, it's tough. The New York beat is so interesting because in some ways, like, and I mean this respectfully, but like the collective of us is so much the antithesis of New York in some ways. Like we are not like we are and not at the same time, like we are the antithesis of like a national media scrum, but we are very New York.
Yeah.
Because it's literal New Yorkers. And like we all let each other cook. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not really any egos. Like everyone stays in their lane for the most part. I didn't get a question. Somebody's got my back. They know I want to talk to someone. They'll tap me on the shoulder and be like, yo, so and so's out here. Like it's very collaborative, but we are not like we are like I'm just gonna say it because I think it's true and I mean it as a matter of fact and not as but we're not cool. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't try to be like we're just people. Like we're not like no one's out here trying to like be more than they are. Like we just do our thing. Like Doug is mad cool. He's the AP writer for the whole league and he's in our scrums and he'll ask how we're doing. He'll check in with us, all of this stuff for all of us. Like that's just how it is. Like there's no egos. Like I said, like we're just, we're not trying to be cool. We're just trying to get the job done. And so I hella respect the New York Liberty Media Corps. Very honored to, I'm not as deep in the cut as I used to be because if Brian Flannery is on season 7, then I've got to be on like 9 or 10. Because he came in, I spent either 2 or 3 seasons covering the Liberty as a beat reporter when they were still at MSG. So yeah, like that's crazy. So I've been on the beat for a while. Now I'm, other than this, I'm mostly a national writer, or that's how I'm kind of categorized by the W as a national writer. But yeah, it's crazy. But I love our little awkward crew. We're some awkward ass people, and I love it. Like I'm hella awkward. Like, I don't never stop talking. You know what I'm saying? Oh man. Well, thank you. And I just had a birthday. Sure did. Yeah, we didn't talk about this. It's in the chat. Someone said Hartford. I was like, be serious. Be so for real. Like that's all I have to say about that. Like anyone saying Hartford, just like, no, like I don't even know where to go with that. No.
Their destination is probably going to be somewhere else, but not in Connecticut, I would say.
Not in Connecticut. I mean, like, is this the the soft? We already saw the soft launch, right, of WNBA to Boston. They're going there again.
This is
thank you. May 8th, baby, right here. Yeah, there's a soft launch. Like Boston's trying to get up in that mix for sure. For sure. Some people saying, oh, maybe it'll be like one of the teams that wasn't granted expansion or cities, excuse me.
I feel like it's
go anywhere.
Like especially if you're a city that hasn't had a team yet, like you'd want to build your own from scratch.
You would think.
Yeah, and then like you'd think so, because like if you're Candace Parker and Peyton Manning and you want to name the team the Tennessee Summit, Do you want to get the Connecticut Sun tournament into the Tennessee
Well,
Sun?
and see, here's the thing, because then you have to absorb that history.
Yep.
And if you don't, you will get lambasted,
Mhm.
you know, because as much as you can say about Mohegan Sun and Connecticut having their team in Uncasville, which is in the middle of nowhere, you're actually closer to Boston, Massachusetts than you are to Hartford, Connecticut, as an example. But
Yep.
they're not going to Hartford. Like that doesn't, there's like semi-pro teams that can't even like that. No, it's no. The answer is no to Hartford. I just like, I don't really even want to try and explain it. It just is asinine. It's an asinine comment. Like you don't know the landscape of women's basketball. Yes, Connecticut is the mecca because of Stores Connecticut very specifically, but they have not built an infrastructure that is kind to professional women's basketball. And a part of that is because the state of Connecticut really doesn't have the infrastructure to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. Connecticut only has one pro team. It's the Sun.
Mhm.
But anyway, before I went on another mini tangent, you have to like absorb that history. And if you don't do it well, like that's a hard couple of years for a team that's also probably not going to be great out the bat. So it's not impossible. We could see Cleveland. Some people, even in our comments, saying Cleveland. I know a lot of people want Miami to get a team or have the Soul return. We've heard people say they want the Comets back. I've said this, especially about the Comets. Like, listen, when you move a team from where they originated, and then you bring back another team, and a team like the Houston Comets who won the first 4 championships, that's a lot of pressure that you're putting on that franchise. Now, there's a way to honor that history without, again, like I said, having to absorb it. And if I'm a Houston franchise, buy the IP, make sure you have the trademarks. That's just smart business. But I would not name that team the Comets. I would benefit financially as much as possible without calling that team the Comets. Because for me, from a like a competitive standpoint, it's just like, it's kind of like how I feel about giving Liberty Legends a ring that they didn't earn. All right, that's our show. Have a good night. I mean, that's how I feel. And I love the Houston Comets. I've got my Cheryl Swoop sneakers right there. I've got my Houston Comets hat right there. Every day. Those do not move. Everything else might change. Those two do not move. What's not up yet, that will be up soon, is my cover story that I wrote for Sports Illustrated on the Cheryl Swoops shoe. That was my first ever story for Sports Illustrated. A cover story about the Air Swoops. I freaking love the Comets, and I do not want a team that returns to Houston to be called the Comets because they ain't earned the rings. They ain't earned them. And you walk in a dangerous tightrope, kind of meshing that together.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Now, the only exception from what I understand is that when OKC, ironically, where I live in Oklahoma, well, I live in Tulsa, not OKC, but in the state of Oklahoma, is when the Supersonics moved to OKC. There was an agreement that was understood at that time that when the NBA comes back to Seattle, it's Supersonics. Nothing else is entertained at all. That was an understanding, an agreement. OKC, again, like I said, has not really been able to play up that history that they have. They don't ever do that. And that's because of the very specific agreement that they have with Seattle. And that's about to come full circle because everyone on the block is saying it's Seattle and Vegas next. So the Supersonics, this is not a Supersonics. This is a Kraken logo. The Supersonics are coming back. That's and even as an outsider, I'm like, are y'all for real? They're like, nah, Eric, it's like an agreement. It's happening. We don't talk about this in Seattle because it's a non-issue for us. But everywhere else, like someone once said, oh, move the Mets, Big Poppy, talking about move the Mets to Oklahoma. They're not the Mets if you move them to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
They're the something else. The Mets are in New York. I don't get down with the Dodgers and the Giants. I know they did that ish, But if you come when the Dodgers are in town to Citi Field, I almost said Shea Stadium because that's how old I am. If you come to Citi Field when the Dodgers are playing, there's a bunch of people that wear Brooklyn Dodgers stuff. They don't like the LA Dodgers. They root for the Dodgers because the Mets are not their team, but the LA Dodgers aren't their team either. It's just that the Dodgers are the closest, but they don't wear LA Dodgers stuff. They wear Brooklyn Dodgers stuff. And I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
I respect that.
Yeah. Like there's a tradition that's held and history that's maintained, and that part matters a lot.
Listen, lots of filters, as in on the computer. Oh man. The Boston Shamrocks. So they got to get a team first. But if you're asking me from the reports, because Damien, I'm pretty sure you're the one who dropped it in chat, because we definitely talked about this on Slack. But they got to get a team first.
Yeah.
I do think that if Connecticut is really looking to sell, I'm thinking they already put some feelers out. They've already seen how the Boston market, that used to be a place I like to eat. Man, those little cornbread things, the Boston market, man, you couldn't tell me nothing about them things. But anyway, they've been testing the Boston area, I think. And if I had to guess, if this is becoming public, then they already kind of have some ideas, and they might be trying to get people to be like, all right, we had this conversation. Are you really about it? Because now's the time, if I had to guess.
Yeah, it feels like this is the perfect time to make that move. And within
the fire has been extinguished. It took me a minute. I was like, wait, what? And I was like, I caught up. Well done. Well played, Tulip.
Yeah, so now it's a situation where now that it's public and the reports that they're exploring a sale, I would say it's probably going to be fairly quick. Like once it's announced, and then once it's sort of like the paperwork is done, we'll sort of see who's coming in and where the road will take them next.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, see, I went on another tangent and I forgot to come back to Tulip's question about the big three for the New York Liberties. So let's say we're talking JJ, Sab, and Stewie.
Yeah.
Of those three, who do we think would leave New York in free agency? Honestly, if I'm picking only between those three, I might say JJ.
Possibly, yeah. Because I feel like if it's a situation where you've accomplished the thing you set out to do, you've become that superstar you wanted to be, like you've really been able to expand yourself in that regard. It's a what's my next adventure kind of thing.
Yeah,
I feel like she loves it here, of course, but
yeah.
If it's a situation where if you had to go and had to choose the next adventure, probably like the highest of a small possibility.
Yeah, exactly. I really don't see it either way, but my guess would be JJ. A few years ago, I would definitely have said Sab.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Stewie, and there was something that you captured, Brian, in a video we talked about in Slack, but Sue Bird said much more eloquently what I was trying to say on one of our podcasts regarding why I think the keys go to Sabrina as the true leader of this team, even while you have a Stewie and a JJ. For JJ, it's because we're closely getting to a point where, like you said, she's accomplished everything. And this team, if being a true leader, a true centerpiece is something that JJ wants, while Sabrina's here, I don't see that happening. And the reason that I do see it happening for Sabrina is because what Sue Bird said about Stewie, you were there, Brian, is that she's getting to a level, and we talked about this, right? She's getting, and maybe I was talking with Hobart, that I can't remember, but Stewie is getting to a point where there's not many gains that she can make in her physical game. That's how good she already is. Mm-hmm. She's peaked at her potential, not at her ability to play at her top potential. Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is that from a skill only, physical skill only, she's plateauing. I think we're in that plateau already, if I'm being honest. Mm. But what elevates her game and what her next phase is, and I don't think we're completely there yet, but she's transitioning into someone that now it's her leadership that becomes what elevates her game to keep her at an elite level, all-star, superstar status. And we've already seen that. Like, we've seen her max out, completely sell out defensively for this team. And that's with, some might argue, diminishing returns offensively for her, not generally speaking, because I think most people take what Stewie was giving the New York Liberty offensively the past 2 years. But comparative to what Stewie has been capable of doing in the past, it seemed like, what's going on? Which is wild, because she was playing at a redunculous clip, but just a little bit less than what we've gotten accustomed to. And that's where her leadership came and is coming from. But Sabrina is in a situation where she's still growing physically. She's still adding to her game. And she is learning under a Sue Bird protege.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like everything lines up the way you want it to.
Exactly. If you repeat shortly, JJ come to Hollywood on a super duper max contract, compliments can break. One can dream. Stewie can join Rakia. They were the only ones.
Not the miss. Oh,
no. It was a trying time. And Stewie was hurt. People didn't want to believe me. I told y'all she wasn't right. I told y'all she wasn't right. I was like, Stewie she ain't with it. That's why Stewie talked to media only at practices. She never, as far as I know, I don't know that she ever came out for media, because they only brought one player from each team. Stewie's like, y'all got that? I built this thing. The least y'all could do is talk into the microphone. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, Stewie kind of talked about this. I don't think she explicitly said why. I think it was honestly just because she could play. She knew that it wasn't going to be anything serious. And I think that there was a concern for her about optics if she started a league that then she didn't play in.
Yeah.
But I think the optics, I don't want to say turned on her, but definitely within certain circles of the WNBA, I say Twitter just to really refer to community, but there were definitely spaces in the WNBA Twitter where she was getting roasted.
Yeah.
And but I listen, not here, because I told you, I was like, first of all, she ain't right. Second of all, let Stewie live. Let Stewie live. But yes, Aaliyah Cookin was, that was a sight to behold. Wait, wasn't she one of the players that needs to be reevaluated?
Yeah,
she had a little knock. Yeah,
Aaliyah, she's dealing with a little back injury. I haven't seen any updates as to if she's going to be ready for opening night.
Yeah.
Same with Kira Austin, so it's going to be a little bit tricky.
Yeah, I think it was about a week and a half ago that she was on a 2-week eval, so she's about due for one.
Yeah,
I hope she's all right, because she looked. Yeah, exactly. You got it, Tulip. That's exactly right. We're about due for an update, which will coincide with. I mean, she's going to make the roster. And I don't get the sense that they think it's going to be a season-ending injury, whether she is able to start healthy and on time. But I don't think they have to suspend her contract. That's the feel that I'm getting, but I guess we'll find out soon.
Mm-hmm. Very
interesting. All right. Well, it's about that time, y'all. I didn't think we was going to get all the way here, but look at us. Look at us. We did it. We did it, Brian. We did it. I told y'all I got the gift of gab, but we got through a lot. I'm happy with this. So next Monday is our next episode. I know there's one later in the month where we might have to reschedule just because of some holidays, and we'll think about that. But we should be good for next week. But if anything changes, we will definitely let you know on our social media platforms. Of course, the best place to hang out with us, in addition to the live stream chat, is in our Slack community. You can check us out there. And Brian is going to, again, lead the charge when it comes to our newsletter. We drop the newsletter every Tuesday and Thursday. And it's we do, again, focus a little on the teams that we cover, the Seattle Storm and the New York Liberty, but it is an opportunity to expand some of the conversations and to make sure you're up to date with everything that is happening. So this is our episode of Gotta Get Up. Again, on Wednesday, we will talk more Seattle Storm. We know they're in a little bit of a different situation. They're kind of like the 2023 New York Liberty, which is a very intriguing situation. And what Roberta and I have been talking about, that's my co-host over there, is that this is really a time for Noelle Quinn to show what kind of coach she can be in the WNBA. There's absolutely several different, several different gears for Noelle Quinn. Now it's just about her tapping into those. And maybe we'll see if that Jewel Lloyd situation truly was a hindrance, but how she can navigate what will come. And having players like Gabby Williams and Dominique Malonga committed to the entire season, I think is going to be huge. Absolutely huge. And yeah, we'll see what Lloyd can do with the Aces. But again, she's not expected to be what I think Seattle needed her to be. Now, whether they communicated that or not, or whether she was ready for it or not, just didn't come to pass. You lost Sue Bird and Stewie in basically back-to-back seasons. That was a big gap to fill. And for whatever reason, it just didn't work out for Lloyd. But she's not going to be asked because it's the A1 show in the desert. One of one, Asia Wilson. All right, y'all. That'll do. It's time to catch this preseason game. So for Brian, I'm Erica L. Ayala, and we are your co-hosts of Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans. We gonna Ellie wave it out, y'all, as it's time to catch our team in their final preseason tune-up before that final roster. Let's see if our predictions about the roster were true, but we'll definitely talk about it on the next episode. All right, peace out, everybody.